The dimensional tear tasted like static and regret. Saitama tumbled through fractured reality with the same expression he wore buying groceries. Mild annoyance at the inconvenience. One moment he'd been facing another monster claiming to be God-level threat. It wasn't. The next, his fist had punched through something that wasn't flesh or armor but the fabric of space itself. The creature had dissolved. The universe had cracked. And now he was falling through a kaleidoscope of broken worlds that all looked disappointingly similar to his own. He landed in downtown Baltimore with enough force to crater the street. Car alarms screamed. Civilians scattered. Saitama stood, brushed cosmic dust from his yellow suit, and looked around at a city that could have been any city back home. Skyscrapers, traffic. People running from the bald guy who'd just fallen from the sky like a meteor. "Huh," he said to nobody. "This isn't the supermarket." Above the city, something moved faster than sound. Saitama's eyes tracked the blur with the bored precision of someone who'd seen every variation of flying hero arrives dramatically. The figure landed 30 feet away with perfect superhero posture. Black and red suit, white cape, that classic strongman build that screamed, "I can bench press a mountain." The man's mustache was immaculate. His smile was warm and reassuring. "Don't be afraid," the hero said, voice carrying effortless authority. "I'm Omni-Man. Are you hurt?" Saitama stared at him. "No." Omni-Man's smile didn't waver, but something shifted behind his eyes, a flicker of assessment that would have made a more perceptive person uncomfortable. His gaze swept over the crater, calculating force and trajectory with 2,000 years of combat experience. "That's quite an entrance. Did something attack you?" "Fell through a hole." Saitama scratched his head, punched a monster. Reality broke. "Now I'm here." He looked around at the panicking civilians with vague concern. "Is this still Earth?" "It is." Omni-Man floated closer, and Saitama noticed the way he moved. Absolute confidence. Zero wasted motion. The economy of someone who'd never met a threat they couldn't flatten. "Though I'm curious which reality you call home. We don't typically see dimensional travelers." His tone stayed friendly, but his posture subtly shifted. Combat ready, disguised as casual. "The boring one," Saitama said. He yawned. "Heroes everywhere, monsters every week. Nobody interesting." Nolan Grayson's enhanced hearing caught the words beneath words. Genuine exhaustion, soul-deep boredom, the flat affect of someone who'd been too strong for too long. He'd heard that tone before in Viltrumite warriors after their 500th conquest. The stranger in the garish yellow suit radiated power like a neutron star radiated heat, but his eyes were empty. "Interesting," Omni-Man extended a hand. "Let's get you somewhere we can talk. The Global Defense Agency will want to know about dimensional breaches." Saitama shook the offered hand with his usual lack of care. Omni-Man's eyes widened fractionally. The grip strength was absurd, casual, the kind of power that pulverized steel without trying. The stranger wasn't posturing, he was just existing at that level. They flew. Omni-Man carried Saitama with practiced ease, and Saitama let himself be carried with the enthusiasm of a man waiting for a dental appointment. Below them, Baltimore sprawled in afternoon sunlight, people tiny and fragile as ants. Emergency responders were already securing the crater site. "You handle this well," Omni-Man observed. "Flying, I mean. Most people panic." "Used to it," Saitama replied. "I can jump pretty high." "Jump," Nolan repeated the word carefully. Something cold slithered through his Viltrumite assessment protocols. "Jump, not fly. This being generated enough force to reach escape velocity through leg strength alone." He filed that away next to every other detail. The complete lack of fear, the impossible power signature, the dimensional origin that suggested no loyalty to Earth or its governments. Perfect. The Pentagon facility appeared ahead, concrete and steel bristling with weapons that couldn't stop a determined Viltrumite for more than 30 seconds. They descended to a landing pad where a scarred man in a suit waited with the patience of someone accustomed to superhuman inconvenience. "Omni-Man," Cecil Stedman said, then turned his attention to Saitama with the calculating gaze of someone whose job was managing apocalypses. "And our dimensional visitor. Welcome to Earth. I'm Cecil Stedman, Director of the Global Defense Agency." "SAITAMA." He didn't elaborate. The silence stretched awkwardly. Cecil's eye twitched. "Right. Well, Mr. Saitama, we have some questions about how you arrived, what you want, and whether you pose a threat to global security." "Okay," Saitama said. Another silence. Omni-Man watched the exchange with hidden amusement. The stranger's complete lack of social awareness or self-preservation instinct would make certain conversations very easy. "Let's head inside," Cecil finally managed. He glanced at Omni-Man. "You staying?" "I should." Nolan's smile was pure heroic concern. If there are more dimensional threats coming, Earth needs to know. What he didn't say, the Empire needed to know about this walking weapon that had just fallen into their lap. They walked through sterile corridors, past soldiers who tensed at Saitama's approach, their training screaming that something about the bald man in the ridiculous costume was fundamentally wrong. Predators recognized a greater predator. Inside a briefing room with reinforced walls that couldn't stop Omni-Man if he decided to leave and definitely couldn't stop whatever Saitama was, Cecil activated recording equipment. "Let's start simple," Cecil said. "What can you do?" Saitama thought about it. "Punch things." "Anything else?" "Punch things really hard?" Cecil pinched the bridge of his nose. Omni-Man leaned against the wall, projecting casual, heroic camaraderie while his Viltrumite brain cataloged every micro-expression. The stranger wasn't being evasive. He genuinely couldn't conceive of his abilities as remarkable. "Demonstrate," Cecil said, gesturing to a testing chamber visible through reinforced glass. "We have durability equipment. Show me what a punch looks like." They moved to the testing facility. Saitama stood in front of a titanium block designed to measure impact force, the same equipment that had tested Omni-Man years ago when establishing his Earth's Mightiest Hero credentials. Scientists watched from behind blast shielding. "How hard?" Saitama asked. "Full strength," Cecil said. "That'll break your thing." "It's rated for nuclear-level impacts. It'll be fine." Saitama shrugged. He tapped the block with his knuckles. The titanium exploded. The entire testing chamber imploded. Shockwaves cracked the observation glass. Alarms shrieked. Scientists dove for cover, and Saitama stood in the wreckage with the same bored expression, his fist still extended. "Told you," he said. In the observation room, Cecil's remaining eye was very wide. Omni-Man's smile had frozen in place, his Viltrumite assessment protocols screaming contradictions. That level of casual force exceeded anything Earth had documented. Exceeded most Viltrumites. Possibly exceeded him. "Jesus Christ," Cecil whispered. Omni-Man's mind raced through calculations. Threat assessment, planetary extinction level, strategic value, inconceivable. Current loyalty, none. The Grand Regent needed to know about this immediately, but first, Earth's greatest hero needed to ensure this weapon pointed in useful directions. "Impressive," Nolan said, voice warm with manufactured friendship. "How'd you get that strong?" "Push-ups," Saitama said. "Sit-ups, running, 3 years." The silence that followed was profound. If you want to see more characters enter different universes, Hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character and the universe you'd want to see them in down in the comments below. Think, Mark. Think. Cecil recovered first. Right. Well, Mr. Saitama, while we figure out how to send you home, if that's even possible, we need to discuss your status here. You're the most powerful being we've encountered, possibly including Omni-Man. That makes you either an incredible asset or an extinction-level threat. I'm just a hero, Saitama said. A hero. Cecil leaned forward. What does that mean to you? Saitama's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes, something tired and lost. I fight monsters, protect people, the usual stuff. He paused. It's pretty boring. Omni-Man straightened. Boring. The word hung in the air like blood and water. And every Viltrumite instinct Nolan possessed recognized opportunity. This being had power without purpose, strength without direction, limitless capability with nowhere to channel it. The Empire could give him purpose. But first, Earth's greatest hero would befriend the most dangerous weapon in the universe and wait for the perfect moment to show him what real strength looked like, and what it could achieve across a galaxy of lesser races desperate for strong rulers. Outside, the sun set over the Pentagon. In his Baltimore home, Mark Grayson studied for chemistry finals, unaware his father had just met someone who might survive a Viltrumite punch. And somewhere beyond Earth's atmosphere, in the cold void between worlds, Empire sensors had detected the dimensional breach and calculated its implications. The unstoppable force had entered a universe built on unkillable objects. Someone was finally going to test Saitama's limits. He just didn't know it yet. The observation room smelled like ozone and shattered confidence. Cecil Stedman stood amid the wreckage of his testing equipment, watching technicians frantically compile data that made no mathematical sense. Impact force readings had maxed out every sensor before the equipment vaporized. The AI analysis kept spitting out error messages. One scientist was quietly crying. "Play it back," Cecil said, "frame by frame." The footage rolled in slow motion. Saitama's knuckles made contact with titanium. For 3 microseconds, nothing happened. The block simply existed, rated for punishment that could level city blocks. Then reality caught up with the casual physics violation that was Saitama's tap. The molecular bonds didn't break. They ceased. The titanium didn't shatter or dent. It converted directly into expanding gases and shrapnel moving at hypersonic velocities. "He wasn't even trying," one technician whispered. That was a tap. Cecil's jaw tightened. In 15 years running the GDA, managing superhuman threats from Omni-Man to dimensional invaders, he'd never encountered power this absolute. The Guardians of the Globe could be killed. He'd seen their bodies. Omni-Man could bleed, given sufficient force. This bald man in the discount costume had just deleted a titanium block from existence with the effort most people used opening jars. "Get me everything," Cecil ordered. "Thermal scans, molecular analysis, anything that survived, and get Donald. I need contingency protocols yesterday." In the adjacent briefing room, Omni-Man sat across from Saitama with a hero's warm smile plastered over a Viltrumite's cold calculation. 2,000 years of combat experience screamed conflicting assessments. The stranger's power signature was wrong. Not the refined efficiency of Viltrumite heritage or the structured energy of typical metahumans, but something fundamental, like gravity or entropy given a bored human face. "So," Nolan said conversationally, 3 years of exercise made you the strongest being on your planet?" "Yeah." Saitama picked at a loose thread on his glove. "Broke my limiter or something. A crab monster explained it before I punched him." "Limiter?" Nolan filed the term away for the Empire's scientists. Every species had theoretical ceilings except Viltrumites, whose smart atoms adapted indefinitely. If other universes contained beings who transcended biological limits through training, the strategic implications were astronomical. And now I'm bored. Saitama's voice carried no self-pity, just statement of fact. Every fight ends in one punch, no challenge, no excitement, just... He gestured vaguely at existence. This. Nolan's Viltrumite assessment protocols aligned with uncomfortable precision. He recognized this emptiness. 500 years into his lifespan, after his 100th conquered world, Nolan had felt it too. The crushing tedium of being so far beyond challenge that existence became mechanical. The Empire's solution had been philosophy. Strength served purpose through conquest. Give power meaning through domination. But Saitama's power might exceed even Viltrumite Grand Regent Thrag, if properly motivated. I understand, Nolan said and meant it. Being the strongest is isolating. Nobody relates. Every threat is disappointment waiting to happen. He leaned forward with practiced empathy. But you said you're a hero. What drives you if there's no challenge? Saitama was quiet for long enough that Nolan wondered if he'd forgotten the question. Then, habit, I guess. Started doing it because I wanted to, kept doing it because... He shrugged. What else would I do? Perfect. No ideology, no conviction, just momentum. Viltrumites could work with that. Show him what strength could accomplish across civilizations that needed guidance. Frame Empire conquest as heroism on galactic scale. The strongest deserved to rule. Saitama was demonstrably strongest. But first, establish trust and test limits. You mentioned monsters, Nolan said. Serious threats? Dragon level, some of them. City destroyers. Planet surface wipers. Saitama said it like discussing weather. Boros claimed he'd blow up Earth, fought him on his ship. Did he survive? No. Nolan's smile didn't waver, but something cold settled in his chest. Boros, whatever species that represented, had possessed planet-busting capability. Saitama discussed killing it with the enthusiasm of completed paperwork. The Grand Regent needed this information immediately, but Earth's communication systems weren't secure enough for honest Viltrumite transmission. The door opened. Cecil entered with 3 armed guards and the wary posture of someone approaching an unexploded bomb. Mr. Saitama, we've prepared temporary quarters while we investigate your dimensional breach. There's also the matter of your legal status. He should stay with me. Both Cecil and Saitama turned to Omni-Man. Nolan's expression radiated trustworthy heroism. Think about it, Cecil. He's from another dimension, knows nothing about our Earth, and powerful enough to accidentally level Baltimore if he's not properly oriented. I can show him how things work here. Hero to hero. Cecil's eye narrowed. That's considerate. It's practical, Nolan countered. Plus, my son Mark just got his powers. He's training to be invincible. The name still sounded absurd to Nolan's Viltrumite sensibilities, but it tested well with humans. Saitama could provide perspective on managing overwhelming strength. The manipulation was elegant. Cecil saw Omni-Man positioning himself close to a potential threat. Nolan knew Cecil would see that and approve, keep enemies close. What Cecil couldn't know was that Nolan intended to recruit this weapon for the Empire, starting with simple friendship and escalating to showing him what strength could truly achieve. Fine, Cecil said, but he wears a tracker, non-negotiable. Saitama shrugged. Okay. 20 minutes later, they were flying toward Nolan's Baltimore suburb. Saitama hung from Omni-Man's grip with zero concern about terminal velocity or sudden stops. Below them, evening traffic crawled through streets where people lived ordinary lives, unaware that two beings capable of reducing their city to rubble were discussing grocery stores. "My wife Debbie's a great cook," Nolan said. "You'll like her, and Mark's a good kid. Enthusiastic about the hero thing." He smiled with genuine fatherly pride, one of the few authentic emotions he allowed himself on this assignment. He doesn't know his own strength yet. Literally. Broke 3 doors last week. "I broke my apartment a lot," Saitama offered. "Turned the sink too hard, door fell off, stuff like that." They landed in a driveway beside a house that screamed upper-middle-class normalcy. Nolan led Saitama inside, where Debbie Grayson was setting the table for dinner. She looked up, saw her husband with a strange bald man in a yellow suit, and responded with the practiced aplomb of someone married to a superhero. "Nolan, you brought home another one," she said with fond exasperation. "Dimensional traveler," Nolan explained. "Saitama, this is my wife Debbie. He'll be staying with us while the GDA figures out how to send him home." "Of course he will." Debbie wiped her hands on a dish tag, approached, and offered one to Saitama with a warm smile. "Nice to meet you. I hope you like pot roast." "I'm not picky," Saitama said. "Holy shit." Mark Grayson stood at the top of the stairs, staring at Saitama with teenage excitement barely contained in a 17-year-old body that had recently acquired the ability to punch through steel. Are you, Dad, did you bring home another superhero?" "Mark, language," Debbie chided. "We have a guest." "Another hero," Nolan confirmed. "Saitama, my son Mark. He's invincible." Mark practically flew down the stairs, literally given his developing flight capabilities were still calibrated for crash into ceiling rather than graceful descent. He landed hard enough to crack a floorboard, winced, and extended his hand with the desperate enthusiasm unique to teenagers meeting their idols. "I've got so many questions. How'd you get your powers? How long have you been a hero? What's your strongest enemy? Can you fly or just jump really high?" "Dad says I need to learn control, but—" "Mark," Nolan interrupted gently, "let him breathe." Saitama shook Mark's hand. The teenager's grip was enthusiastic, powered by early-stage Viltrumite heritage that would eventually let him juggle mountains. Saitama responded with his usual zero-effort courtesy, and Mark's eyes widened as he realized the stranger wasn't even trying to match strength. "Whoa," Mark whispered. "You're crazy strong." "Yeah." Dinner was surprisingly normal. Debbie served pot roast while Mark peppered Saitama with questions that received monosyllabic answers. Nolan watched both of them, his half-Viltrumite son brimming with heroic enthusiasm, and the dimensional visitor whose power exceeded anything the Empire had documented but whose purpose was totally absent. "So what's your hero name?" Mark asked around a mouthful of mashed potatoes. "Saitama." "No, like your hero name, your costume identity." "Saitama. He doesn't use a separate identity," Nolan explained. "Different culture." Mark's brain visibly struggled with this concept. "But what about your secret identity, protecting your family?" "Don't have family to protect," Saitama said simply. "Parents died when I was young." The table went quiet. Debbie's expression softened with immediate sympathy. Mark looked stricken, his teenage invincibility confronted with casual tragedy. And Nolan saw opportunity. Isolation made recruitment easier. "I'm sorry," Debbie said softly. Saitama shrugged. "It's okay. Was a long time ago." After dinner, Nolan walked Saitama to the guest room. The house was modest by Viltrumite standards. Humans didn't need much, but comfortable. Saitama examined the bed like he was cataloging hotel amenities. "Thank you," he said, "for letting me stay." "Of course." Nolan's hand rested on Saitama's shoulder with fraternal warmth. "Heroes help each other, and honestly," he lowered his voice conspiratorially, "it's nice to meet someone who understands what real strength feels like. Most heroes on this planet are fragile. Something flickered in Saitama's eyes. Recognition, maybe, or the faint echo of kinship. Yeah. Get some rest, Nolan said. Tomorrow I'll show you around how we do things here. Maybe introduce you to some threats worth your time. He left Saitama alone in the guest room, walked to his own bedroom where Debbie was already reading, kissed her goodnight with the practiced affection of a deep-cover operative who'd genuinely grown fond of his assignment. Waited until she slept, then he flew. Straight up, through atmosphere into orbit where Earth became a blue marble and communication satellites hummed with human chatter. Nolan produced a device from his belt, Viltrumite technology, undetectable by Earth's primitive sensors, activated it, and transmitted everything to the nearest relay point. The message reached Viltrum's archives in hours. The Grand Regent's strategists reviewed Saitama's power signature, dimensional origin, and psychological profile within a day. And Thrag himself, strongest of all Viltrumites, leader of an empire spanning thousands of conquered worlds, read Nolan's assessment with the focused intensity of a predator recognizing either ultimate weapon or existential threat. His response was simple: recruit or eliminate. Your discretion. Back in Baltimore, Saitama lay on an unfamiliar bed in an unfamiliar universe, staring at an unfamiliar ceiling. For the first time in years, something stirred in his chest. Not excitement exactly, but its distant cousin. The way Omni-Man moved, the casual confidence, the aura of someone who'd been truly strong for a truly long time. Maybe this universe had someone worth fighting. Maybe he'd finally feel something again. Outside, Mark Grayson practiced flying in the backyard, young and eager and convinced heroism meant saving everyone. Inside, Debbie slept peacefully, unaware her husband was an advance agent for galactic conquest. And somewhere in the Pentagon, Cecil Stedman reviewed footage of Saitama's tap and wondered how you built contingencies for the end of physics. The unstoppable force had entered the unkillable empire's territory. Someone was finally going to test both. The Baltimore sunrise arrived with the casual brutality of all Maryland mornings, humid, bright, and utterly indifferent to the beings it illuminated. Saitama woke at exactly 6 a.m., muscle memory from years of hero work overriding dimensional displacement. He performed his routine: 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, 10-kilometer run. The Grayson treadmill exploded during kilometer 3. He finished the remaining 7 laps around the basement. Mark found him standing amid treadmill wreckage, not even breathing hard. "Dude," the teenager said, "that was Dad's reinforced equipment, rated for Viltrumite." He stopped. "What are you?" "A hero," Saitama said. He looked at the destroyed treadmill with mild concern. "Should I pay for that?" "Are you kidding? Dad destroys stuff all the time. Mom's used to it." Mark floated closer, literally. His feet hovered 6 inches off basement concrete as morning Viltrumite physiology kicked in. "Can I ask you something?" "Okay. How do you stay motivated?" The question emerged with teenage earnestness. "Like, if you're that strong, if nothing challenges you, why keep going?" Saitama considered this with the same expression he used for complex math. "Don't know," he finally admitted. "Habit, maybe. Or hoping something will be different." He met Mark's eyes. "Hasn't been yet." Before Mark could respond, Nolan's voice called from upstairs. "Boys, breakfast!" They found Omni-Man at the kitchen table in civilian clothes, reading the Baltimore Sun with coffee steaming beside him. The picture of suburban normalcy. Debbie was cooking eggs. The domestic tableau was so aggressively normal that Saitama almost missed the headline Nolan was reading. "Guardian murders 3 months, no leads." "Sleep well?" Nolan asked, setting the paper aside. "Fine." Debbie served scrambled eggs with the efficiency of someone who'd fed metahumans for 17 years. So, Saitama, what did you do back in your universe? For work, I mean. Or was it just hero stuff? Just hero stuff, Saitama confirmed. Did it for fun at first, then professionally. Hero Association handled the boring parts. Must be nice, Mark said. Here we just, show up when bad things happen. No real organization except the GDA, and they're more military than hero group. We had the Guardians, Nolan interjected smoothly, before the murders. He sipped coffee with practiced sorrow. 7 of Earth's finest heroes killed in the Pentagon, brutal, efficient. We still don't know who did it. Saitama's expression didn't change. That's bad. It is. Nolan's voice carried perfectly calibrated grief. Immortal, War Woman, Red Rush, all gone. The replacement team tries, but they're learning. It's left Earth vulnerable. He paused, let the implication breathe. We need strong heroes now more than ever. The manipulation was layered. Establish Earth's weakness, position Saitama as potential solution, plant seeds about undefined threats. Standard Viltrumite psychological warfare adapted for recruitment instead of conquest. Nolan had done this on 40 worlds. Identify powerful individuals, befriend them, gradually reveal the Empire's necessity. Saitama ate his eggs. Sounds rough. Mark's phone buzzed. He checked it, eyes widening. Dad. There's something in Chicago. Robot says it came through a portal, some kind of... He read faster. Interdimensional monster, kaiju class? Nolan was already standing. How big? Big like Godzilla big. It's tearing through downtown. I'll handle it. Nolan moved toward the door with superhuman efficiency, then paused, looked at Saitama with carefully calculated consideration. Want to come? See how we operate here? Saitama shrugged. Okay. They flew. Nolan carried Mark and Saitama, though the bald hero's complete indifference to Mach 3 velocities suggested he'd experienced worse. Below them, America scrolled past in miniature, highways like veins, cities like organs in the continental body. They reached Chicago in 4 minutes. The kaiju was exactly as advertised, 60 feet of interdimensional flesh, somewhere between insect and lizard, tearing through Michigan Avenue with the enthusiasm unique to beings who'd never faced consequences. It screamed, a sound that shattered windows 3 blocks away, and brought a massive claw down on a fleeing bus. Omni-Man intercepted. His fist met the claw with a thunderclap that echoed across Lake Michigan. The kaiju stumbled. Nolan followed up with a punch to its thorax that cracked chitin armor and sent the creature crashing through a Marriott. Mark, evacuate civilians, Nolan barked. Get them clear of the combat zone. On it! Mark shot toward a collapsed building where people screamed beneath rubble. The kaiju recovered faster than something that size should move. It lunged at Omni-Man with jaws that could swallow a semi-truck. Nolan dodged, grabbed its tongue, and tore. Blood sprayed. Gallons of it, alien biology reacting to Viltrumite strength. The creature thrashed, destroying a parking structure and 3 stores. Saitama watched from a rooftop with the detached interest of someone reviewing familiar choreography. Strong punch, tactical positioning, efficient violence, competent, professional, boring. The kaiju adapted. Something rippled beneath its flesh. Rapid evolution or planned contingency, hard to say. Spines erupted from its back, each one 6 feet long and dripping toxin. It swung at Omni-Man in an arc that would have liquefied normal humans. Nolan flew straight up, circled, and dove like a missile into the creature's skull. The impact cratered Michigan Avenue. The kaiju's head deformed, neural structures crushed by Viltrumite force. It collapsed, twitching. Nolan emerged from the wreckage covered in alien blood, breathing slightly harder but uninjured. Clear, Mark called from 3 blocks away. Civilians are safe. Nolan nodded, then turned to Saitama. What do you think? This is fairly standard for Earth's threats. Dimensional breaches, alien invasions, the occasional supervillain with delusions of... The kaiju's corpse exploded. Not died, exploded. Some final biological imperative triggered, converting its entire mass into expanding organic shrapnel and acidic spray. Nolan barely had time to shield himself before being engulfed in caustic death throes. The blast caught Mark at the periphery, burning exposed skin, and Saitama, standing on his rooftop, got hit by approximately 3 tons of flying kaiju viscera moving at lethal velocities. The gore washed over him, covered his suit, his face, his everything in steaming alien innards. He wiped his eyes. Gross, Omni-Man stared. The acid eating through pavement didn't touch Saitama's skin. The shrapnel that had shredded steel girders had bounced off his bald head. He stood in the center of what should have been catastrophic biological warfare, looking mildly annoyed about laundry. Are you? Nolan started. I'm fine. Saitama flicked guts off his glove. This happened a lot? More than you'd think. Nolan's Viltrumite assessment protocols were screaming again. No damage, not even a scratch. The acid that was currently eating through his own suit's weaker sections had 0 effect on Saitama's exposed skin. He filed this away for the Empire. Durability exceeds preliminary estimates. Possible invulnerability. Strategic implications expanding. Mark flew over. Healing already. Viltrumite regeneration handling the acid burns. That was insane. Did you see the way it just... He noticed Saitama's gore-covered state. Oh man, are you okay? Yeah. Saitama tried to wipe more guts off and just spread them around. Need a shower. Emergency services arrived. GDA containment teams in hazmat suits, securing the kaiju remains for analysis. Cecil Stedman materialized via teleportation, took one look at the devastation and pinched his nose. Omni-Man, invincible, and our dimensional visitor. His eye fixed on Saitama. You engaged the threat? Just watched, Saitama said. He's covered in its remains. It exploded. Cecil absorbed this. Right. Well, thank you for not leveling Chicago while you were here. He turned to Nolan. We're detecting increased dimensional instability. This might be related to Saitama's arrival. Something about his entry point is attracting other breaches. Nolan frowned with perfectly acted concern. How many? 3 more in the last hour. Small ones, nothing kaiju-sized yet. But if the pattern holds... Cecil didn't finish. Didn't need to. Dimensional invasion was on the Pentagon's nightmare bingo card right between Omni-Man goes rogue and aliens declare war. We should investigate the breach points, Nolan suggested. Saitama, you want to come? Might help us understand how to send you home. Okay. They flew to the first breach, a shimmering tear in reality above Lake Superior. It pulsed with energies that made GDA sensors scream. Nolan approached carefully, Viltrumite senses analyzing dimensional frequencies. Saitama floated beside him. Wait, floated. I thought you could only jump, Nolan said carefully. Usually, Saitama hung in midair with 0 visible effort. But I tried flying this morning. Worked. He'd tried flying and it worked. No training, no technique, just applied will to remaining airborne and physics surrendered. Nolan's centuries of combat experience tried to process this and failed. Viltrumites flew through specialized organs and evolutionary adaptation. This being just decided to fly. That's impressive, Nolan managed. It's convenient. Saitama examined the dimensional tear. Looks like the one I fell through. Can you close it? Saitama punched it. The dimensional breach didn't tear wider or collapse. It ceased. One moment a wound in reality, the next just normal sky. Cause and effect looked at each other, shrugged, and gave up arguing. Mark, hovering nearby, made a noise between awe and confusion. "How did—" he started. "I punched it," Saitama explained. They visited the other two breaches. Saitama punched both. Dimensional physics surrendered each time. By the third closure, Cecil was watching via satellite with the expression of someone whose understanding of reality was being systematically demolished. "This is good," Nolan said as they flew back toward Baltimore. His mind raced through Viltrumite tactical frameworks. Saitama could close dimensional breaches through blunt force. Could he open them? Could he punch through to other universes? The Empire's conquest had always been limited by travel time and spatial distances. If this weapon could create shortcuts— "Saitama," Nolan said carefully, "have you ever fought someone who could match you? Even briefly?" The question hung in humid air above Lake Michigan. Saitama was quiet long enough that Nolan thought he wouldn't answer. "Once," Saitama finally said. "Guy named Boros. He survived for a few minutes. Maybe felt something like excitement." His voice carried the emotional weight of describing beige paint. "Then I got serious and he died. What does serious look like for you?" "Serious series, serious punch." Saitama said it like reciting a grocery list. Used it twice, once on Boros, once on a guy who could redirect force. "What happened?" "Boros died. The other guy's attack got reversed so hard it destroyed his own technique and most of his body. He survived, but barely." Nolan filed this away for the Empire with growing excitement. Saitama had tiers of power. The casual tap that deleted titanium was baseline. Serious implied reserves so deep that the being himself probably didn't know his limits. The Grand Regent needed to see this, but first establish absolute loyalty. Show Saitama what strength could accomplish when applied to civilization-scale problems. Frame Viltrumite conquest as heroism's logical evolution. "Must be lonely," Nolan said with genuine understanding, "being that far beyond everyone else." "Yeah." Saitama looked at his gore-covered glove. "Kind of hoped this universe would be different." "It might be," Nolan said, and smiled the smile of Earth's greatest hero, hiding the calculations of a Viltrumite advance agent. "You just haven't met the right opponents yet." Above them in geosynchronous orbit, a Viltrumite surveillance drone recorded everything. The footage transmitted to Empire archives where strategists analyzed Saitama's capabilities and debated whether he represented the ultimate conquest tool or the end of Viltrumite supremacy. Thrag himself watched the recording of Saitama closing dimensional breaches with punches, watched the complete indifference to kaiju acid, watched power that made even the Grand Regent pause. "Interesting," Thrag said to the empty command room. His voice carried the cold assessment of someone who'd ruled through strength for centuries. "Very interesting." He made two decisions. First, Nolan would continue recruitment. Second, if recruitment failed, Thrag would come to Earth personally and eliminate this threat before it complicated the Empire's timeline. Either way, the strongest Viltrumite would meet the limitless hero. Someone's invincibility was about to be tested. The GDA briefing room hummed with tension thick enough to taste. Cecil Stedman stood before a holographic display showing Saitama's dimensional breach closures, kaiju encounter, and power testing footage on loop. Around the table sat the new guardians of the globe: Robot, Monster Girl, Black Samurai, Duplicate, Rexplode, and Shrinking Ray. They watched the bald man in yellow casually delete physics and looked varying degrees of unsettled. "So let me get this straight," Rex said, leaning back with forced casualness. "This guy shows up, destroys our best testing equipment with a tap, tanks kaiju acid that melted concrete and closes dimensional tiers by punching them. And we're just letting him crash at Omni-Man's place? You have a better idea? Cecil's eye fixed on the explosive hero. Jail him? He'd walk through the walls. Kill him? With what? Ask him nicely to leave when we don't know how to send him home? I could try to... Robot started, his drone body's synthesized voice carrying characteristic analytical confidence. No. Cecil cut him off. You couldn't. None of you could. I've run the simulations. If SAITAMA decided Baltimore needed to not exist anymore, it wouldn't, in approximately 4 seconds. He pulled up new footage. SAITAMA's casual flight, his adaptation to this universe's physics. He's learning, getting comfortable, and Omni-Man is keeping him close. That's good though, right? Monster Girl asked. Her young voice carried uncertainty that her centuries of transformed experience couldn't quite suppress. Omni-Man's our strongest hero. If anyone can relate to this guy, that's what concerns me. Cecil activated another display, energy signatures, behavioral analysis, Omni-Man's movements over the past 48 hours. Nolan's been more active since SAITAMA arrived, more engaged, almost excited. Black Samurai leaned forward. You think Omni-Man sees him as a threat? I think Omni-Man sees him as something. I just don't know what yet. Cecil closed the displays. Which is why you're all going to meet him. Controlled environment, social integration. Make him feel welcome while we figure out what the hell he is and how to manage the most powerful being Earth has ever encountered. No pressure, Rex muttered. At the Grayson household, SAITAMA was discovering that dimensional displacement didn't excuse Mark from homework. The teenager sat at the kitchen table, struggling through calculus while his father coached from the doorway and the unstoppable force watched with polite disinterest. You're overthinking it, Nolan said. The derivative of x squared is just 2x, simple pattern recognition. Dad, I know the answer, I just don't get why it works that way. Mark erased his third attempt, leaving graphite smears across the page. SAITAMA peered at the math problem. What's a derivative? Both Graysons looked at him. Nolan's expression carried careful neutrality, cataloging another data point about their dimensional guest's education level. Mark's face showed pure teenage relief at potential distraction. It's calculus, Mark explained. Measures rate of change. Super useful for physics and stuff. Oh, SAITAMA thought about this. I just punch things. See, Dad? Even interdimensional heroes don't need calculus. Mark, Nolan's voice carried paternal authority. Even interdimensional heroes probably went to school. Right, SAITAMA? Dropped out, SAITAMA said. Couldn't afford it. Became a salaryman for a while, hated it. Then I became a hero. The casual admission of academic failure and economic struggle sat uncomfortably in the Grayson kitchen. Mark's privileged suburban existence, superhero father, comfortable home, college prospects, suddenly felt very distant from whatever universe-produced beings who punched dimensional barriers closed. Nolan filed it away. No formal education, low economic class, probable social isolation before gaining powers. Textbook profile for recruitment, give him purpose, structure, belonging. The Empire had converted thousands of such individuals into loyal operatives. Well, Nolan said smoothly, you turned out fine without it. Sometimes experience beats education. He checked his watch. Speaking of which, we're meeting the new Guardians in an hour. They want to welcome you properly. Okay. The Guardians' headquarters sat in Utah, built into mountainside with enough reinforced steel and defensive systems to theoretically survive Omni-Man deciding to test their durability. Theoretically. Nolan had memorized every weakness during his first week on Earth, back when the original team had still been breathing. They arrived via teleportation, Cecil's technology pulling them from Baltimore to the Rocky Mountains in a shimmer of displaced air. Saitama experienced it with his usual enthusiasm for novel physics violations. Mild acknowledgement followed by complete indifference. The new Guardians waited in the main hall, arranged in a careful semicircle that was definitely not a tactical formation, but absolutely was a tactical formation. Robot floated at the center, his drone chassis humming with processing power. Monster Girl stood in human form, barely 5 feet but containing centuries of combat experience. Rex, Kate, Samurai, and Ray flanked them, Earth's B-team thrust into A-team responsibilities by the Guardian massacre. "Welcome," Robot said, his synthesized voice carrying algorithmic warmth. "We've heard impressive things about your capabilities, Saitama. I'm Robot, team leader, strategist, and—" Saitama was staring at the drone body with visible confusion. "Are you a robot?" Brief silence. Rex covered his mouth to hide a smirk. Kate's duplicates exchanged glances. "I am," Robot confirmed. "My actual body is elsewhere, controlling this chassis remotely, medical condition." "Oh, that's rough." Saitama's sympathy sounded genuine. Being a hero while sick must be hard. Something shifted in Robot's posture. Microscopic adjustments in hovering angle that suggested the compliment had landed differently than expected. Most heroes pitied his condition. This one just acknowledged difficulty and moved on. "I manage," Robot said. "Let me introduce the others." The meet and greet proceeded with carefully planned casualness. Monster Girl demonstrated her transformation, young woman to green-skinned powerhouse in seconds, and Saitama nodded like he'd seen stranger. Rex blew up a training dummy with casual showmanship. Kate's duplicates performed synchronized acrobatics. Black Samurai displayed his sword technique. Shrinking Ray demonstrated size manipulation. Through it all, Saitama watched with the expression of someone attending a moderately interesting museum exhibit. Polite attention, zero investment. "Your turn," Rex said with the confidence of someone who hadn't yet learned fear. "Show us what you've got. What's your signature move?" Saitama considered this. "Normal punch, I guess." "That's it? Just a punch?" "Sometimes consecutive normal punches." Rex grinned. "All right, I'll bite. Hit me with your best." "No!" Omni-Man's voice cut through like steel. Every Guardian turned. Nolan stood with his arms crossed, expression serious. "Nobody spars with Saitama until we establish proper protocols." His normal punch deleted our testing equipment. "I can control it," Saitama offered. "I'm sure you can. But let's not test that theory with people." Nolan gestured to the mountain beyond the facility's reinforced walls. "You want to demonstrate? Hit the rock face. About half strength." They moved outside. The Utah wilderness sprawled in afternoon sunlight. Desert scrub, red rock formations, the kind of primordial geology that had survived millions of years of erosion and tectonic violence. The Guardians spread out, giving Saitama space. Omni-Man positioned himself between the hero and the mountain, ready to intercept if necessary. Saitama faced the cliff wall, drew back his fist, released. The punch generated no dramatic wind-up, no visible energy build-up, no dramatic declaration. Just fist moving forward at speeds that shouldn't have generated the force they did. The impact sounded like thunder compressed into a single syllable. The mountain didn't shatter. It opened. Rock face peeled back in concentric circles radiating from impact point, geology rearranging itself to accommodate physics it couldn't comprehend. Dust clouds erupted. The shockwave rippled through stone, creating spiderweb cracks that spread for hundreds of meters. And when the dust settled, there was a tunnel, perfectly circular, approximately 30 feet in diameter, extending straight through the mountain to daylight visible on the other side. Half a mile of solid granite converted to tunnel by half-strength punch. Holy shit, Rex whispered. Robot's processors struggled to model the force vectors. Monster Girl stared with the eyes of someone who'd fought kaiju and understood scale. Kate's duplicates had unconsciously merged back into single terrified person. Black Samurai's hand rested on his sword hilt, ancient combat instincts screaming that this being was beyond Steel's capacity to answer. Omni-Man's expression showed carefully calibrated surprise. Inside, Viltrumite tactical systems recalculated everything. Half strength. Half. He'd witnessed planetary defenders who couldn't match that output at full power. If Saitama ever deployed his serious techniques against actual opponents. That was half? Mark asked, voice small. He said half strength, Nolan confirmed. To Saitama. What does full strength look like? Don't know. Saitama examined his fist like it might have answers. Never needed to use it. Serious punch is usually enough. And that's not full strength either. Don't think so. Never had to check. The implications sat heavy on the assembled heroes. Somewhere beyond serious punch, beyond the casual tunnel through mountains, existed Saitama's actual limits. If they existed at all. Cecil's voice crackled through their comms. I'm seeing seismic activity registering as a 4.2 earthquake. Please tell me that was the demonstration and not an actual crisis. Demonstration, Robot confirmed. Saitama just punched through a mountain. Of course he did. Cecil sounded tired. Bring him back. We need to discuss containment protocols. I don't think containment is the right word, Monster Girl said quietly. I don't think we have the right word, Cecil replied. They returned to the briefing room. Cecil was waiting with Donald Ferguson, his right-hand man, strategist, and the person responsible for developing contingencies for superhuman threats. Donald looked at Saitama with the haunted eyes of someone whose job had just become impossible. So, Cecil began, let's talk about what happens if you ever need to go all out here. Rules of engagement, collateral damage protocols, that sort of thing. Saitama sat in a chair that creaked under normal human weight. Okay. First question. Have you ever had to use full power? No. Second question, do you know what full power would do? Destroy stuff, probably. Donald made a small noise of distress. Cecil continued, can you quantify stuff? City, country, planet? Saitama thought about it with the same expression he used for grocery shopping. Maybe planet? Don't know. Never tried. Please don't try it here, Cecil said. Okay. The casual agreement should have been reassuring. Instead, it highlighted that Earth's survival depended on Saitama's continued cooperation and self-restraint. No prison could hold him. No weapon could stop him. Policy was whatever he felt like honoring. We should assign you to a team, Robot suggested. Operational integration. The Guardians could use someone of your capabilities and it would give you structure while you're here. I'm not really a team person, Saitama admitted. Back home, I mostly worked alone. Other heroes got in the way. Got in the way how? Rex asked. I'd show up and the fight would be over. They got mad about it. Called me a glory hound. Saitama's voice carried the faint disappointment of someone who'd wanted friends and gotten resentment. Eventually, the association just sent me to solo threats. Mark's teenage empathy engaged despite the power differential. That sucks, being that strong and still being lonely. It's fine. Saitama said it like he'd practiced the lie. Heroes are supposed to be strong. Nolan saw his opening. Strength is important, he agreed. But direction matters too. Power without purpose becomes burden. He stood, moved to the window overlooking Utah wilderness. I've lived a long time, Saitama. Seen countless powerful individuals waste their potential on small problems, local crime, street-level threats. They think being strong means fighting whatever's in front of them. What else would it mean? Saitama asked. Civilization building. Nolan turned, backlit by afternoon sun, voice carrying the weight of 2,000 years. The strongest should guide the weak, protect them from themselves and external threats, create order from chaos. His expression showed absolute conviction. Real heroism operates at scale, planetary governance, galactic stability, not stopping bank robbers. The other Guardians shifted uncomfortably. This was Omni-Man's occasional tendency toward philosophical grandiosity, usually dismissed as him being from different generation or culture. But something in his tone now carried intensity beyond normal discussion. You saying we should rule people? Rex asked carefully. I'm saying strength carries responsibility beyond immediate violence. Nolan's gaze never left Saitama. If you could prevent all crime, all war, all suffering through application of overwhelming force and strategic governance, wouldn't that be more heroic than waiting for criminals to hurt people before stopping them? That's authoritarianism, Robot said flatly. That's efficiency. Nolan smiled. But I'm just philosophizing. The point is, Saitama, you have power that could reshape worlds. Seems wasteful using it on kaiju and bank robbers. Saitama absorbed this with his characteristic thoughtfulness. What would I do instead? Whatever you wanted. With your strength, you could enforce peace across entire civilizations. No more war, no more crime, just order. Nolan let it breathe. Must be tempting. Finally using all that power for something meaningful. The recruitment pitch was elegant. Not join the Empire and too direct. Just philosophical seeds about strength's purpose, power's responsibilities, the appeal of challenges at civilization's scale. Let Saitama's boredom and isolation do the rest. I just want to fight someone strong, Saitama said. Meaning can come later. Mark laughed, breaking the tension. That's the most honest thing I've heard a hero say. They spent another hour on integration protocols, establishing communication channels, defining Saitama's legal status, guest, not citizen, and creating theoretical response frameworks for various crisis scenarios. The entire exercise was acknowledged fiction. If Saitama decided to do something, Earth's response would be hoping he stopped before the continent disappeared. As they prepared to leave, Monster Girl pulled Saitama aside. Hey, what Omni-Man said earlier about using power for governance. Don't listen to that. Why not? Because I'm old. Really old. Been transformed for centuries when aging backward. Her young face carried ancient eyes. I've seen what happens when the strong decide they know better than everyone else. It always goes bad. Always. Saitama nodded. Okay. You seem like a good person. Don't let anyone convince you that being strong means ruling people. I won't, he paused. How do you deal with it? Being strong and old and stuck? Monster Girl smiled sadly. I have people who love me despite it. That helps. She glanced at Robot, then back to Saitama. Find people who care about you for who you are, not what you can do. That's what keeps the isolation from winning. They teleported home. Mark went back to calculus. Debbie made dinner, and Nolan stepped outside to make a call on secure GDA channels, except the call wasn't to Cecil. The transmission reached Viltrumite Relay in minutes. Nolan's report was concise. Subject responds to purpose-driven frameworks. Boredom and isolation confirmed as primary vulnerabilities. Philosophical recruitment proceeding. Recommend continued patience. Subject's full capabilities still unknown but likely exceed Grand Regent tier. Request strategic guidance. Thrag's response came hours later. Continue recruitment. If he seeks worthy opponent, promise him challenges across Empire's frontier. If he refuses, I will come personally. Either he serves the Empire or dies fighting it. No third option. In the guest room, Saitama lay awake thinking about Omni-Man's words. Power used at civilization scale, fighting opponents across galaxies. Finally finding someone strong enough to make him feel something again. It almost sounded worth caring about. Outside, the Maryland night hummed with cicadas and distant traffic. Somewhere in the Pentagon, Cecil reviewed contingency plans that all ended with "Pray Saitama stays friendly." And in orbit, Viltrumite sensors tracked the dimensional anomaly that was Saitama's existence, calculating, analyzing, preparing. The recruitment was proceeding exactly as planned. The Empire was patient. And Saitama was just bored enough to listen. The emergency call came at 2 a.m., the hour when violence felt most inevitable and sleep most distant. Saitama woke to Mark's panicked voice in the hallway, Nolan's calm commands and Debbie's worried questions. He emerged from the guest room still in his hero suit. He'd never bothered changing to find the Graysons in crisis mode. "It's downtown Baltimore," Mark said, pulling on his costume with teenage urgency. "Some kind of supervillain. Machine Head's forces. They've got hostages in the First National Bank and they're threatening to—" "We handle it," Nolan interrupted. He was already in full Omni-Man regalia, cape settling across shoulders with practiced ease. His eyes found Saitama. "Want to see how we manage these situations?" "Okay." They flew through Maryland night, Mark eager and anxious, Nolan controlled and calculating, crew, Saitama floating alongside with the enthusiasm of someone attending mandatory training. Below them, Baltimore glowed with streetlights and crime, an American city doing what American cities did when darkness gave violence permission. The bank was surrounded. GDA tactical teams had established perimeter, armored vehicles, snipers, the standard human response to superhuman problems. Cecil's voice crackled through comms as they descended. "Omni-Man, we've got 43 hostages inside. Machine Head cyborgs are armed with weapons that'll turn those civilians into mist if we breach wrong. They want—" Static burst. "They want amnesty, $50 million and a helicopter. Standard impossible demands." "ROE?" Nolan asked, landing beside a command vehicle. "Minimize casualties, Machine Head's watching remotely. Say, his tech can trigger the weapons if he feels threatened." Mark landed hard, cracking pavement. "So what do? We can't just let them kill people." "We negotiate," Cecil said. "Buy time, wait for an opening." Nolan's jaw tightened with carefully performed frustration. This was the inefficiency he'd described later. The human obsession with every life. The tactical paralysis born of ethics. A Viltrumite would breach, accept the casualties, eliminate the threat. Clean, efficient. But Earth's greatest hero had to play by Earth's rules. For now. "I can go in," Saitama offered. Every head turned. Cecil's eye fixed on the bald hero with the calculation of someone weighing catastrophe against catastrophe. "You'd be seen," Cecil said. "Machine Head would trigger the weapons." "Not if I'm fast enough." "How fast?" Saitama considered this. "Pretty fast." It wasn't reassuring, but Cecil was a pragmatist who'd built his career on impossible choices, and stalemate guaranteed civilian death eventually. "All right, but you follow my directions exactly, understood?" "Okay." They moved Saitama to the perimeter. Cecil pulled up building schematics. 43 hostages spread across the main floor. 12 cyborg guards positioned with overlapping fields of fire, weapons hardwired to Machine Head's dead man switch. If his heart stopped or his signal cut, everyone died. "You'll need to neutralize all 12 guards simultaneously," Cecil explained. And I mean simultaneously. We're talking microsecond precision. Can you do that? Probably. Mark stared. Dude, that's impossible. Nobody's that fast. I'm pretty fast, Saitama repeated. Nolan watched with Viltrumite focus. Speed was quantifiable. Viltrumites moved at relativistic velocities in combat. If Saitama could actually neutralize 12 targets in microseconds, his combat speed exceeded preliminary assessments. Useful data for the Empire. All right, Cecil said. He activated comms to the cyborgs inside. This is Cecil Stedman, GDA. We're sending in a representative to discuss terms. Hold fire. Inside the bank, Machine Head's digital presence manifested on screens. A face rendered in pixels and arrogance. Send them in, unarmed. Any tricks and I paint these walls with citizen. Saitama walked to the entrance. The doors opened automatically, sliding aside to reveal marble floors and terrified civilians. 12 cyborgs tracked his movement with weapons that hummed with lethal energy. On every screen, Machine Head's face sneered. What's this? The GDA sent a janitor? Digital laughter echoed. Where's Omni-Man? Where's the actual hero? I'm a hero, Saitama said. You're a bald idiot in a pajama suit. Machine Head's avatar leaned forward. Tell Cecil I want my helicopter in 10 minutes or I start killing hostages, starting with... Saitama moved. The world didn't slow. Saitama accelerated. One moment he stood at the entrance, the next he occupied 12 positions simultaneously. Fist connecting with Cyborg 1's chest, elbow striking Cyborg 2's head, palm neutralizing Cyborg 3's weapon, foot disabling Cyborg 4's leg actuators. 12 impacts in the span between Machine Head's syllables, each strike calibrated to destroy the weapon without triggering it, disable the cyborg without killing the human core inside. The cyborgs collapsed. Their weapons clattered to marble floors, inactive, and Saitama stood in the center of the bank with his fist still extended, having crossed 50 meters and executed 12 precision strikes in less time than it took a human heart to beat once. Machine Head's avatar froze mid-sentence. What? How? That's not done, Saitama said. Outside, Cecil watched through satellite feed with an expression approaching religious awe. Jesus Christ, did we just witness that? Frame-by-frame analysis indicates subject moved at approximately Mach 8, one technician reported, voice shaking. 12 targets engaged and neutralized in 0.003 seconds. Nolan's Viltrumite assessment protocols stopped trying to calculate and just filed it under absurd. Mach 8 was fast even by Empire standards, and Saitama had done it casually, with precision that suggested he could go faster if needed. The hostages stared at their bald liberator with the confusion of people whose trauma had been resolved before fully comprehending danger. Saitama looked at them with his usual expression. You can leave now, he said. They left, stumbling, crying, alive. GDA teams secured the scene. Cecil teleported in, assessed the neutralized cyborgs, and turned to Saitama with something approaching respect. That was efficient. They were going to hurt people, Saitama said simply. They were, and now they're not. Cecil glanced at the destroyed weapons. Perfect precision, no casualties, no collateral damage, that's... He stopped, started over. That's exactly what we need. Mark flew in through the skylight, landing with typical teenage enthusiasm. That was insane! I barely saw you move. How did you... Were you always that fast, or is that new? Always, Saitama said. Could you teach me? The question burst out with adolescent desperation. Like even a fraction of that speed would be... Mark. Nolan's hand settled on his son's shoulder. Saitama's abilities are unique to him. You'll develop your own strengths. To Saitama. Though I'd be interested in understanding your technique. Combat efficiency like that is impressive, even by my standards. I just move fast and hit things, Saitama explained. It was the least helpful explanation possible and completely accurate. There was no technique, no martial philosophy, no training methodology to copy. Saitama simply decided to be fast enough, and his broken limiter complied. They flew back to the Grayson house. Debbie had stayed awake. Worry etched in the lines around her eyes until she saw all three returning safely. She hugged Mark, nodded to Saitama, and went back to bed with the exhaustion of a woman who'd spent 17 years worrying about superhuman loved ones. In the kitchen, over 3 a.m. coffee that only Nolan needed, Viltrumite metabolism processing fatigue differently than humans, the conversation turned philosophical again. You saved those people without hesitation, Nolan observed. No negotiation, no strategic delay, just immediate action. They were in danger, Saitama said. But you don't seem emotionally invested. No anger at the criminals, no triumph at the rescue, just task completion. Saitama thought about this. Feeling things about it doesn't help anyone. The emotions come after, if they come at all. During the fight, I just do what needs doing. That's remarkably mature. Nolan sipped coffee, eyes distant. Most heroes here are performative. They need the validation, the gratitude, the sense of righteousness. You just act. Seems simpler. It is simpler. It's also how professional soldiers operate, how empires maintain order across dozens of worlds. Nolan's voice carried careful emphasis. Emotion clouds judgment. The strongest must act from strategic clarity, not moral hesitation. Mark frowned. Dad, you're not saying we shouldn't care about people, right? Of course not. I'm saying effective protection requires pragmatism. Nolan turned to Saitama. You've experienced this. If you'd stop to feel every emotion, process every ethical concern, those hostages would be dead. Instead, you acted decisively and everyone survived. I guess. Now imagine that scaled up. Entire civilizations protected by beings strong enough to simply prevent harm before it occurs. No negotiations with terrorists, no drawn-out conflicts, no ethical paralysis. Just overwhelming force applied with strategic precision to maintain peace. That's tyranny, Mark said, voice harder than his 17 years usually managed. That's order. Nolan's expression showed paternal patience. Mark, you're young. You still think heroism means reacting to crises, but the strongest should be proactive. Eliminate threats before they manifest. Structure civilization to prevent crime rather than punishing it. Use power not just to stop villains, but to ensure they never rise in the first place. By doing what? Ruling people? Controlling them? By guiding them. There's a difference. Saitama listened to the father-son argument with the detachment of someone observing foreign ritual. Back in his universe, the Hero Association had struggled with similar questions. Should heroes govern? Should power translate to authority? The debate had never resolved, mostly because nobody cared enough to force resolution. What do you think? Mark asked Saitama suddenly. Should heroes rule? I don't know, Saitama admitted. I just fight monsters. Politics seems complicated. It's not complicated, Nolan said. It's simple. The strong protect the weak. The question is whether protection means serving their current desires or guiding them toward better outcomes. And you think you know what better outcomes means? Mark's Viltrumite temper was beginning to surface. The heritage he didn't know he carried making his voice sharper than intended. I think someone has to make hard choices, Nolan replied calmly. And those choices fall to whoever has the strength to enforce them. The conversation ended there, tension unresolved. Mark stormed to his room with teenage indignation. Nolan cleaned coffee cups with domestic normalcy. and Saitama sat in the kitchen thinking about strength and purpose and the growing certainty that Omni-Man's philosophy resonated with something he couldn't quite name. In his room, Mark pulled out his phone and texted Eve. "Dad's being weird. Talking about heroes ruling people, is that normal for older heroes?" Eve's response came minutes later. "Not normal. Concerning. Watch out for authoritarian vibes." But she didn't know Nolan Grayson was 2,000 years old, had conquered 40 worlds, and was systematically grooming the most powerful being in the universe to accept Viltrumite ideology. Neither did Mark. The recruitment was proceeding exactly as planned. The dimensional breach opened 3 days later above Lake Michigan. A tear in reality 50 feet across, vomiting creatures that looked like someone had taken crabs, made them elephant-sized, and given them a PhD in screaming. They hit Chicago's waterfront with the enthusiasm of invasive species discovering undefended territory. Saitama saw it on the news. Nolan was already suiting up. "Big ones," Omni-Man said, watching footage of the creatures tearing through Navy Pier. "Probably world-ender class on weaker planets. Should be interesting." Mark flew in through the window, costume half on. "I'm coming. Cecil just called. The Guardians are already deployed, but they're getting hammered." "No!" Nolan's voice carried absolute authority. "Stay here. Guard your mother." "Dad, I can help. I'm invincible, but you're half-trained and outmatched." Nolan gripped his son's shoulder with measured force. "Those things have carapaces that shrug off tank rounds. They'd tear you apart while I'm protecting you instead of civilians." It was logical. It was tactical. It was also Viltrumite Empire doctrine. Weak warriors stayed home while strong ones handled real threats. Mark's face showed frustration and hurt, but he didn't argue further. Saitama was already at the door. They reached Chicago in minutes. The waterfront was carnage. Buildings collapsed, streets cratered, blood and screaming mixing with lake water. The creatures moved with coordinated intelligence, flanking the Guardians who were fighting defensive, losing battle. Robots' drones swarmed one creature, electrical attacks sparking off armored carapace. Monster Girl, fully transformed, grappled another creature 3 times her size and was slowly losing. Rex's explosions barely scratched them. Black Samurai's blade found gaps in armor but couldn't penetrate deep enough to matter. "Saitama, take the ones on the left," Nolan commanded, already diving toward the largest creature threatening to collapse a hospital. "Try not to destroy the entire waterfront." Saitama dropped toward his assigned targets. 3 creatures, each the size of a city bus, tearing through the aquarium with the dedication of beings who'd never encountered resistance. They saw him coming, and their compound eyes tracked his descent with predatory focus. He landed among them. The first creature's claw came down like a guillotine. Saitama caught it. The appendage, designed to crush cars, stopped dead against his palm. The creature pulled. Saitama didn't move. It pulled harder, activating secondary muscle groups evolved for ripping prey apart. Saitama was mildly annoyed. He punched it. Normal punch, maybe 30% strength. He was getting better at calibration. The creature's carapace shattered. Its internal organs converted to paste. The body flew backward through 2 buildings in the aquarium's main tank. 300,000 gallons of water and confused fish evacuating into Michigan Avenue. The other 2 creatures paused. Their alien intelligence processed this development. The small, soft thing had just destroyed their packmate with 1 hit. Tactical reassessment occurred in whatever neurons governed their predatory behavior. They lunged simultaneously. Saitama moved between them. Consecutive normal punches. Left fist, right fist, left, right. Rhythm like heartbeat. Each impact pulped creature flesh and shattered armor. They tried to adapt, to coordinate, to use their size advantage. It didn't matter. 10 seconds after engaging, both creatures decorated Chicago's waterfront in unidentifiable chunks. Across the battlefield, Omni-Man was demonstrating why Earth considered him their mightiest hero. He flew through the largest creature's abdomen, intestines trailing behind him like grotesque streamers. Emerged from its back, looped around and tore its head from its shoulders with hands that had ended civilizations. The creature didn't die immediately. Its nervous system, distributed across multiple organs, kept it fighting, even decapitated. Claws lashed out, catching Omni-Man across the chest. His suit tore. Blood welled from parallel cuts through Viltrumite flesh. Nolan smiled. Pain meant challenge. Challenge meant engagement. He grabbed the thrashing body and accelerated straight up. Broke Mach 1 in 3 seconds, Mach 3 at altitude, then simply released the creature at 30,000 feet. It tumbled back to Earth, terminal velocity turning its fall into kinetic bombardment. The impact cratered Lakeshore Drive and finally killed the thing. The Guardians were struggling. Monster Girl, aging backward with each transformation, looked younger, closer to 12 than 20. Her strength was fading. The creature she fought sensed weakness and pressed advantage, massive claw pinning her transformed body to concrete. SAITAMA appeared, grabbed the claw, tore it off. The creature screamed, a sound that shattered windows across 3 blocks. It turned its attention to this new threat, mandibles clicking with alien rage. Open jaws wide enough to swallow SAITAMA whole. He punched it in the mouth. The creature's head exploded, not metaphorically, literally exploded, showering Monster Girl with gore. The body collapsed, twitching. And SAITAMA stood in the center of Viscera, looking at his fist like it might have gotten dirty. "Thanks," Monster Girl gasped, reverting to human form. She looked 10 now, aging backward, payment for transformation coming due. That was efficient. "Are you okay?" SAITAMA asked. "I'm fine. This is normal." She tried to stand, stumbled. "Just need to rest and I'll age back forward eventually." Another breach opened. 5 more creatures poured through, these ones larger, angrier, demonstrating the interdimensional ecosystem's escalation pattern. Omni-Man engaged 2 immediately, fists pulping alien flesh with methodical efficiency. The Guardians rallied for the remaining 3, exhausted but professional. SAITAMA walked toward the new arrivals with his usual enthusiasm for violence, complete absence. One creature lunged. He sidestepped, casual movement that shouldn't have generated the speed it did, and delivered uppercut that sent the creature into low orbit. It wouldn't survive re-entry. The next creature tried different tactics, spat acid in streams that dissolved concrete. SAITAMA walked through it. The caustic liquid hit his suit, his skin, and did absolutely nothing. He reached the creature, grabbed its mandibles, and pulled them apart with the sound of tearing metal. The creature died screaming. The final new arrival was smarter. It recognized the bald thing as extinction-level threat and ran. Made it 30 feet before SAITAMA appeared in front of it. Impossible speed, no acceleration, just instantaneous position change. The creature stopped. SAITAMA punched. The body disintegrated. Not just killed, unmade. The force was so excessive that molecular bonds gave up and the creature converted to component atoms across a 100-meter radius. A fine mist of what used to be monster settled across Chicago's waterfront like grotesque rain. Silence fell. The battle was over. 10 creatures dead in under 3 minutes, Chicago saved, and SAITAMA standing amid wreckage with his characteristic expression of polite boredom. Omni-Man landed beside him, suit torn, blood mixing with alien gore. "Efficient," he said. "They were hurting people," SAITAMA replied. The Guardians assembled. Robots' drones performed damage assessment. Rex stared at the atomized creature residue with new understanding of power scales. Kate's duplicates merged, all of them sharing traumatized awareness that Saitama could do that to people if he wanted. "We need to discuss collateral damage," Robot said, gesturing to the destroyed aquarium, cratered streets, and vaporized creature. "The property destruction alone is irrelevant compared to lives saved," Omni-Man interrupted. "Buildings can be rebuilt. Civilians can't be resurrected." He looked at Saitama with something approaching camaraderie. "You prioritized correctly." Cecil's voice crackled through comms. "Threats neutralized. Good work. But, Saitama, that last creature, you completely atomized it. We needed samples for analysis." "Sorry," Saitama said. "It's fine. Just try to leave biological evidence next time." "Hard to study threats when they're converted to mist." Cecil paused. "Also, there's something you all should know. We've detected a pattern in these dimensional breaches. They're specifically targeting locations where Saitama has been. Chicago, Baltimore, Utah, all places he's visited." Robot's processors hummed. "Hypothesis: Saitama's presence is creating dimensional instability. His power signature is attracting attention from other universes. Or someone's tracking him," Cecil countered. "Either way, we need to figure out why before worse things come through." Worse? The word hung heavy. If the creatures they'd just fought weren't the serious threats, what was? They returned to headquarters for debriefing. Medical assessed injuries. Omni-Man's chest wounds were already healing. Viltrumite regeneration handling damage that would kill normal humans. Monster Girl was unconscious, body slowly aging forward again. The others showed fatigue and minor injuries. In the briefing room, Cecil displayed dimensional energy readings. "Every breach corresponds to Saitama's location within 6 hours. Something's tracking him, or something he did when he arrived created a beacon." "Can we shield it?" Nolan asked. "Not with our technology, maybe not with any technology. His power signature is unlike anything we've encountered. It's like trying to hide the sun." Saitama raised his hand. "Should I leave? If I'm attracting monsters, might be safer if I go somewhere empty." "Go where?" Cecil asked. "Another city? That just moves the problem, and we need your power if serious threats arrive." "Besides," Nolan added carefully, "running from problems isn't heroic. You didn't choose this situation, but you can help protect people from its consequences." The manipulation was subtle. Frame staying as heroic duty, leaving as cowardice. Appeal to Saitama's identity as hero even while his emotional investment in that identity crumbled. "I guess," Saitama said. The meeting continued. Protocols for dimensional breaches, evacuation procedures, theoretical frameworks for threat escalation. Through it all, Saitama sat with his characteristic disengagement, present but not participating, powerful but purposeless. After Nolan pulled him aside, "Walk with me." They left headquarters, flew to a mountain overlook in Colorado where the Rockies stretched to horizons and civilization felt appropriately distant. Landed on a peak where wind howled and temperatures would kill humans in minutes. "You're getting bored again," Nolan observed. "Yeah. Even the creatures aren't challenging. They're basically advanced monsters, same as back home, just bigger." Nolan was quiet, letting mountain silence do the work. Finally, "What if I told you there are beings who could challenge you? Not in this universe, at least not on Earth, but across the galaxy. Warriors who've trained for thousands of years. Empires built on strength where the powerful truly test themselves." Saitama's attention focused slightly. "Like who?" "My people." Nolan let the admission breathe. Carefully calculated risk. "I'm not from Earth originally, I'm Viltrumite, a race of beings nearly as strong as you, evolved for combat, with lifespans measured in millennia." "Oh." Saitama processed this. That explains some stuff. We have an empire, thousands of worlds all protected by Viltrumite strength, and occasionally, very occasionally, we encounter beings who can match us. Warriors from species that evolved in hostile environments, entities that transcend normal physics, creatures that make those interdimensional monsters look like children's toys. Have you fought them? Many times. Nolan's voice carried genuine battle memory. One opponent took 3 days to defeat. Another required 5 Viltrumites working together. The strongest nearly killed me twice. He paused. It was glorious. Saitama's expression shifted, microscopic change, but Nolan's Viltrumite senses caught it. Interest. Actual, genuine interest in fighting something that might hurt him. "Where are they?" Saitama asked. "Across the galaxy, frontier worlds where evolution hasn't been gentle, space between empires where things that shouldn't exist hunt starships." Nolan turned, meeting Saitama's eyes. "Places Earth's governments will never let you go. Cecil sees you as weapon to contain. My son sees you as symbol to admire. They want you static, predictable, controllable. And you? I see someone wasting themselves on problems that don't require their capabilities." Nolan gestured to Earth below. "You could fight real threats. Test yourself against beings who've conquered star systems. Finally find the challenge you've been seeking." He paused. "The Viltrumite Empire would welcome you, not as servant, as equal. Fight alongside the strongest warriors in the galaxy." The recruitment was explicit now. Join the Empire. Find worthy opponents, give strength purpose through conquest. It was elegant, appealing, and completely aligned with what Saitama wanted. "I'd have to leave Earth," Saitama said. "You're not from this Earth anyway. What ties you here? Debbie's pot roast? Mark's hero worship? Cecil's containment protocols?" Nolan's voice carried gentle mockery. "You're a warrior without war, Saitama. The Empire offers war." Below them, Colorado sprawled in afternoon sunlight. Somewhere in those mountains, humans lived ordinary lives with ordinary problems. And on this peak, 2 beings capable of reducing it all to rubble discussed the appeal of galactic conquest. "I'll think about it," Saitama said. It was enough. The seed was planted. Nolan had learned patience over 2,000 years. Let Saitama's boredom and isolation do the rest. Another dimensional breach would come. More inadequate challenges would disappoint. And eventually the appeal of fighting beings who could actually survive his punches would outweigh whatever minimal attachment he'd developed to Earth. They flew back. Neither spoke. And in the silence, Nolan smiled. The Empire was patient. The weapon was almost ready. The message from the Empire arrived 48 hours later, transmitted through channels Cecil Stedman didn't know existed and couldn't intercept if he did. Nolan received it in the privacy of his study, Viltrumite encryption converting stellar radiation into tactical directives. "Grand Regent Thrag to Agent Grayson. Your reports on the dimensional anomaly designated Saitama have been analyzed. Strategic assessment follows. Threat level, extinction event, tier Omega. Recruitment. Probability, 64% increasing. Strategic value, incalculable. Your approach is approved, however the Empire requires direct assessment. I will arrive at your location in 72 hours to evaluate this weapon personally. If recruitment fails, elimination protocols will be implemented. You have expressed concern about Saitama's combat capabilities exceeding documented parameters. This concern is noted and irrelevant. No being has survived confrontation with the Grand Regent. If this one-punch man proves unkillable, the Empire adapts. If he proves recruitable, we gain a weapon that renders the coalition of planets strategically obsolete. Prepare Earth for my arrival, maintain cover, continue recruitment, strength through conquest, victory through power." Nolan stared at the message with carefully controlled dread. Thrag was coming. The strongest Viltrumite, ruler of an empire spanning thousands of worlds, was coming to Earth to either recruit or kill the most powerful being the universe had ever encountered. And Nolan had 72 hours to ensure whichever outcome occurred didn't destroy the planet his family lived on. He found SAITAMA in the backyard, watching Mark practice flight maneuvers. The teenager was getting better. Controlled ascents, sharper turns, only minor property damage when landing. Viltrumite heritage asserting itself through practice. "SAITAMA," Nolan said. "We need to talk, privately." They flew to the same Colorado peak. Became habit now, this mountain where truth lived in thin air and wind carried secrets away before they could reach human ears. "Someone's coming," Nolan began. "Someone I need you to meet." "Okay?" "He's Viltrumite, the strongest of our species, Grand Regent Thrag, leader of our empire, undefeated in thousands of years of combat." Nolan's voice carried the weight of someone describing force of nature. "He's heard about you, your power, your potential, and he wants to see for himself." Saitama's expression didn't change. "Is he strong?" "Extremely. He's killed beings that make me look weak, conquered worlds single-handedly, enforced peace across civilizations through application of overwhelming force." Nolan paused. "He might be strong enough to survive fighting you." And there it was, the hook, buried in tactical warning. Someone who might possibly finally give Saitama the challenge he'd spent 3 years desperately seeking. "When?" Saitama asked. 3 days. He'll arrive under guise of diplomatic contact. Viltrumite Empire establishing formal relations with Earth. Nolan met Saitama's eyes. "But the real purpose is evaluating you. If he thinks you're recruitable, he'll offer you a position in the Empire. If he thinks you're a threat, he'll try to kill you." "Okay. Saitama, you need to understand what that means. Thrag doesn't negotiate, doesn't compromise. He's pure Viltrumite ideology. Strength is the only virtue, power is the only truth. He'll test you, push you. And if you respond wrong, he'll escalate until one of you is dead. So he's strong and aggressive, got it?" Nolan resisted the urge to shake him. "This isn't like the kaiju, isn't like the dimensional creatures. Thrag has 2,000 years of combat experience. He adapts, strategizes, exploits weaknesses, and he's unkillable. Viltrumite physiology means he can survive planet-destroying impacts and regenerate from near-fatal injuries." "Sounds interesting," Saitama said. And for the first time since arriving in this universe, his voice carried something approaching enthusiasm. Nolan recognized that tone. It was the sound of a warrior finally hearing about worthy opponent. The recruitment was working. Saitama wanted this fight, which meant he'd be receptive to the Empire's offer. All Nolan had to do was ensure the confrontation didn't destroy Earth in the process. "There are protocols," Nolan said. "When Thrag arrives, let me handle the diplomacy. He'll want to test your strength, probably suggest sparring or demonstration. Don't refuse, but control the battlefield. We fight away from population centers. Somewhere the collateral damage won't kill thousands." "I don't like hurting people," Saitama said quietly. "I know. That's why we plan carefully." Nolan gripped Saitama's shoulder with measured camaraderie. "You've been bored here, unchallenged. Thrag might finally give you what you've been missing, but he's also Empire's leader. If you impress him, if you show your strength aligns with Viltrumite values, he'll offer you something Earth never could." "What?" "Purpose." Nolan's voice carried absolute conviction. "War against beings that challenge you. Battles across star systems where your strength matters. The Empire fights threats that would terrify Earth's governments. Cosmic entities, dimensional conquerors, civilizations that make humans look like insects. Join us and you'd never be bored again. The appeal was naked now. No more philosophical recruitment. Direct offer. Join the Empire, fight forever, find meaning through conquest. Saitama was quiet for a long time, watching Colorado wilderness below. Finally, what if I don't want to join? What if I just want to fight him and go home? Then he'll try to kill you. Nolan said it simply. Thrag doesn't accept no. You're either asset or threat, no middle ground. And if you become threat, the Empire responds with every resource available until you're eliminated. That seems excessive. That's Viltrumite doctrine. We don't tolerate challenges to Empire stability. Nolan paused. But it doesn't have to be that way. Impress him. Show him you understand strength's purpose, and he'll offer you a place as equal, not subject. They returned to Baltimore. Nolan spent the next 72 hours in careful preparation, warning Cecil that Viltrumite diplomatic contact was imminent. Carefully edited version, leaving out the evaluate weapon or destroy threat part. Ensuring Mark stayed busy with school and training, and maintaining domestic normalcy while Empire's strongest warrior approached Earth. Saitama spent the time watching television and doing his daily exercises. He'd destroyed 2 more treadmills and learned to moderate his sit-ups to avoid cracking the foundation. Mostly, he waited with the patience of someone accustomed to disappointment, hoping this Thrag person might finally deliver the fight he'd been promised. On the 3rd day, the sky split open. Not dimensional breach, Viltrumite approach, faster than light travel terminating in Earth orbit, the kind of arrival that announced presence without apology. Every sensor the GDA possessed shrieked warnings. Satellites detected something moving at relativistic speeds, decelerating from interstellar velocities to mere supersonic in seconds. Cecil's voice erupted through Nolan's comm. Omni-Man, we have unidentified object entering atmosphere. Energy signature matches static. Matches Viltrumite profiles from your arrival. Is this? It's the Grand Regent, Nolan confirmed. Stand down, this is diplomatic contact. Diplomatic contact doesn't usually involve objects that could crater the eastern seaboard if they hit wrong. It does when your species communicates through demonstrations of power. Nolan was already moving, flying toward the approaching signature with Saitama beside him. Keep the Guardians on standby, but do not engage. Thrag interprets military response as threat declaration. Jesus, what kind of... The transmission cut. Because Thrag had arrived, he descended through atmosphere like a falling star, friction converting air to plasma, cape billowing behind him. Where Nolan's arrival had been careful and controlled, Thrag's was dominance display. I can enter your world however I want and you cannot stop me. He landed in the Nevada desert, specifically the proving grounds where GDA conducted weapons testing. 100 miles from civilization, flat terrain visible for miles. Strategic choice, showing he'd done reconnaissance. Thrag stood in a crater of his own making, brushing dust from his uniform. He was taller than Nolan, broader with the build of someone who'd spent millennia enforcing supremacy through violence. His mustache was immaculate. His eyes were cold calculation refined by 2,000 years of conquest. And his power signature made Omni-Man look like preliminary threat. Nolan landed 50 meters away, Saitama beside him. Grand Regent, Nolan said, bowing with precise Viltrumite protocol. Welcome to Earth. Thrag's eyes swept over his subordinate, then fixed on Saitama with the focus of a predator assessing prey. Agent Grayson, your reports have been intriguing. His voice carried absolute authority. So this is the dimensional anomaly that destroys titanium with casual contact and punches reality closed. I'm Saitama, Saitama said. I am Thrag, Grand Regent of the Viltrumite Empire, ruler of 4,000 conquered worlds, undefeated in 2 millennia of combat. He stepped forward, power radiating like heat from star. And I'm here to determine whether you're the Empire's greatest weapon or its next extinct threat. The air pressure changed, not weather. Thrag's presence asserting itself, power signature pressing against reality like weight against silk. Normal humans would have collapsed. Nolan felt it in his bones, the reminder that however strong he was, his Grand Regent was stronger. Saitama just stood there. "Your move," Thrag said. "Convince me not to kill you where you stand." Nolan tensed. This was the moment. How Saitama responded would determine whether Earth survived the next hour. Attack, and Thrag would interpret it as threat requiring total elimination. Submit, and Thrag would dismiss him as weak. The correct response was measured respect, acknowledgement of power while maintaining dignity. Saitama scratched his head. "I don't want to fight. Just came here by accident, trying to get home." "Home?" Thrag smiled without warmth. "Agent Grayson claims your universe bored you, claimed you seek worthy opponents." He began walking closer, each step measured, deliberate. "I am worthy opponent, strongest being in this galaxy, ruler of an empire that has crushed every civilization that opposed it. And you stand here in your ridiculous suit, claiming you don't want to fight." "Not really," Saitama said. "Fighting's just what I do when monsters attack people. Don't do it for fun anymore. Then you're worthless." Thrag's voice dropped to lethal quiet. "The strong exist to dominate. Power without purpose is waste, and the Viltrumite Empire does not tolerate waste." He moved. Not telegraphed attack, pure blitz. One moment standing 20 meters away, the next his fist occupied the space where Saitama's head had been. Mach 3 punch, force sufficient to liquefy normal humans, speed impossible to follow without Viltrumite eyes. Saitama had leaned slightly left. The fist passed through air. Thrag's eyes widened fractionally, first surprise he'd shown in decades. He followed up with combination, left jab, right cross, spinning elbow, knee strike. Each blow delivered with combat experience measured in centuries, each one capable of shattering buildings. Saitama dodged them all. Small movements, minimal effort. The economy of someone who'd fought too many times to waste energy. And his expression never changed. Polite attention like watching mildly interesting demonstration. Thrag stopped, reassessed. This being had reflexes beyond Viltrumite standard, reaction time that bordered precognition. Interesting. "You have speed," Thrag acknowledged. "Now show me strength." It wasn't request, it was command, delivered with the absolute authority of someone accustomed to obedience from strongest warriors in the galaxy. And Saitama, despite his power, despite his broken limiter, despite everything that made him unstoppable, was fundamentally still a hero who'd been taught to respect authority and follow social protocols. "Okay," he said. He punched Thrag. Normal punch calibrated for sparring. The Grand Regent flew backward 300 meters, crashed through rock formations, and created new canyon. Dust clouds erupted. The shockwave rippled across Nevada desert, triggering seismic sensors across 3 states. Silence. Then Thrag erupted from the wreckage, suit torn, blood streaming from his nose, and he was smiling. Genuine feral smile of someone who'd finally found challenge worthy of his attention. "There it is," his voice echoed across desert. "Finally, after centuries of disappointment, someone who can actually hit me." He accelerated. Mach 5 this time, hitting Saitama with force that would crack tectonic plates. The impact generated thunderclap heard in Las Vegas. Saitama slid backward 10 feet, boots carving trenches in desert floor, and didn't fall. Thrag's smile widened. His Viltrumite physiology sang with pain and pleasure. ribs broken from impact with someone who hadn't yielded, arm fractured from hitting something harder than planets. His smart atoms were already healing, adapting, preparing for extended combat. "Yes!" Thrag roared. "This is what I came for. Show me your limits." He attacked like storm, hundreds of punches per second, each one planetary scale force, combat technique refined over 2 millennia against beings that made kaiju look fragile. Desert vaporized around them. Rock became glass. Glass became plasma. The air itself ignited from friction. Saitama blocked, deflected, occasionally dodged. Taking it seriously now, recognizing opponent who could actually survive engagement. And through it all, something awakened in his chest. Not quite excitement, but its distant cousin. The faint echo of feeling something during combat. Thrag noticed the shift, saw Saitama's expression change from polite attention to mild engagement, and understood. This being was bored by the fight, tolerating it, like adult tolerating child's play fighting. The realization should have enraged him. Instead, it thrilled him. He'd finally found someone stronger. The strongest Viltrumite had finally found his superior. And Grand Regent Thrag, ruler of empires, made his decision. "Enough!" He stopped, breathing hard, blood streaming from dozen wounds. His smart atoms healed them as he spoke. "You've proven your strength. Now prove your worth." Saitama lowered his fists. "Okay. The Viltrumite Empire offers you position as equal, not subordinate, equal. Fight beside the strongest warriors in the galaxy. Test yourself against threats that would destroy civilizations. Give your power purpose through conquest that matters." Thrag stepped closer, voice dropping to intensity that made desert air vibrate. "Join us, and you'll never be bored again. Every battle will challenge you. Every opponent will make you feel alive. The Empire spans thousands of worlds and faces threats humans cannot imagine. Your strength would finally mean something." He extended his hand. "Not submission, alliance offer between equals. Or refuse, and I dedicate every resource the Empire possesses to killing you. Not because you're a threat, because wasting power like yours on protection of inferior species is insult to strength itself." The choice hung between them. Join Empire, find worthy opponents, give strength meaning. Or refuse, defend Earth, stay bored. Saitama looked at Thrag's extended hand, at Nolan watching with carefully neutral expression. At the Nevada desert they'd restructured through casual violence, and thought about what he wanted, finally, after 3 years of emptiness. He wanted to feel something again. Before Saitama could answer, the sky erupted with light. Not dawn. Arrival. 20 signatures descending through atmosphere with the coordinated precision of military operation. The Guardians of the Globe, GDA tactical teams in dropships, and something else. Something that made Thrag's expression shift from recruitment focus to tactical assessment. Cecil Stedman's voice boomed across the desert through aerial speakers. "This is the Global Defense Agency. Unidentified Viltrumite aggressor, you are in violation of Earth airspace and have engaged in unprovoked assault. Stand down immediately or face lethal response." Thrag looked at the assembled forces. Robots, drones, monster girls transformed bulk, Rex's charged fists, Black Samurai's drawn blade, Shrinking Ray calibrating size, Kate's duplicates spreading into tactical formation. Behind them, GDA gunships bristled with weapons reverse-engineered from alien technology. The Grand Regent laughed. "Agent Grayson," he said without taking his eyes off Earth's defenders, "your planet's military response is adorable. Do they understand that I could exterminate their species before they complete a sentence?" "They're brave," Nolan said carefully, positioning himself between Thrag and the approaching forces. "And desperate. They saw us fighting, assumed hostile action." "Omni-Man!" Cecil's voice carried across desert. Status report. Is that thing a threat? Nolan's Viltrumite brain calculated probabilities. Truth meant revealing his mission, his empire allegiance, destroying 17 years of deep cover. Lie meant potentially watching Thrag slaughter Earth's defenders to prove a point. Either option ended with complications that would make recruitment harder. Stand down, Cecil, Nolan called back. This is diplomatic contact. The Grand Regent was testing Saitama's capabilities, no hostile intent. Testing capabilities looked a lot like trying to kill him. Robot's synthesized voice cut through comm channels. We detected seismic activity registering 6.8 on Richter scale. That's not diplomacy, that's warfare. Thrag's smile sharpened. Your machines are correct. I was testing lethality, and I'm pleased to report. He gestured to Saitama, standing amid cratered desert with his usual expression. Earth hosts a weapon that could end my empire. Or join it. We were discussing which. The Guardians landed in formation, maintaining tactical distance. Monster Girl, aged to approximately 10 years old from earlier transformations, stood at the front with the paradox of child's body containing ancient warrior's mind. Saitama, she said, you don't have to go with them. Whatever they offered, Earth can... Earth can what? Thrag interrupted. Provide challenge? Purpose? Opponents worthy of his strength? His voice dripped contempt. Your planet offers suburban mediocrity and containment protocols. The Empire offers war across galaxies. The Empire offers slavery, Cecil's voice snapped back. Conquest, oppression, the strong dominating the weak. We've read the reports on Viltrumite philosophy. You're not offering Saitama opportunity. You're recruiting him into fascism. Fascism. Thrag tested the word like unfamiliar flavor. Interesting. Humans label efficient governance as tyranny. Label strength-based hierarchy as oppression. He turned to address everyone, voice carrying across desert with performer's projection. Let me educate you on Viltrumite reality. He began pacing, lecture mode activated. 4,000 worlds under Empire protection. 0 interspecies warfare, 0 famine. We ensure resource distribution. 0 existential threats. We eliminate dangers before they manifest. Crime rates approaching 0 because criminals understand consequences. Quality of life metrics exceeding any democracy, republic, or federation the galaxy has produced. At what cost? Robot demanded. Freedom? Self-determination? The right to choose bad governance over enforced protection? At the cost of chaos, Thrag replied. Your Earth exemplifies the problem. 200 nations, constant conflict on resources hoarded by oligarchs while billions starve. Technology capable of solving hunger wasted on weapons development. Superhuman capabilities dedicated to stopping bank robbers instead of restructuring civilization. His eyes fixed on Cecil's gunships. You call it freedom. I call it evolutionary dead end. Cecil's response crackled through speakers. We call it choice. People have the right to fail, to struggle, to find their own paths, not to be ruled by beings who decided strength equals authority. And how's that working? Thrag gestured broadly at Earth below. Climate catastrophe, nuclear proliferation, biological warfare development. Your species is 2 technological breakthroughs from extinction, and you're arguing about the right to make suicidal choices. The debate was philosophical theater. Thrag didn't care about convincing Earth's defenders. He cared about convincing Saitama. Show the dimensional anomaly that Earth was drowning in democratic inefficiency, while the Empire offered purpose through ordered strength. Saitama listened with the expression of someone watching political debate in language he barely understood. The arguments washed over him. Freedom versus order, democracy versus hierarchy, human self-determination versus Viltrumite guidance. It all sounded complicated. He just wanted to fight someone strong. Enough. Thrag's patience ended. Agent Grayson, remove Earth's forces. Their interference is becoming irritating. Nolan tensed. The command was clear. Use force if necessary, which meant choosing between maintaining cover or obeying direct order from Grand Regent. Either option destroyed something he'd built. Nolan? Mark's voice crackled through Omni-Man's comm, young and confused. Dad, what's happening? Cecil says there's a situation with alien contact, and why are you with them? Why aren't you defending Earth? The teenager's presence in communication channels changed calculus. Mark was listening. Would hear whatever happened next. Would learn truth about his father one way or another. Nolan made his choice. Mark, he said carefully, I need you to trust me. What's happening here is complicated. The Grand Regent is an enemy. He's showing us what's possible when the strong take responsibility for civilization's future. Silence on the channel. Then, Dad, that sounds like you're talking like you agree with him, like you think we should be ruled by... Mark's voice cracked. You're not serious, right? You don't actually believe this Empire stuff? Thrag watched Omni-Man's internal conflict with clinical interest. The agent was compromised by attachment to inferior species, to hybrid offspring, to human woman he'd been assigned to infiltrate through marriage. Classic deep-cover deterioration. Fascinating case study in how even Viltrumite discipline could be corrupted by prolonged exposure to emotional thinking. Mark, Nolan tried again. There are things about our family you don't know. Things about me, about you, about what we're capable of and what that capability demands. No. Mark's voice carried teenage fury and dawning horror. No, you don't get to do this. You don't get to reveal you're secretly with them. You're Omni-Man, Earth's greatest hero. You've saved millions of people. You can't be. I'm Viltrumite first, Nolan said quietly. And with those 3 words, 17 years of cover collapsed. Always have been. My mission was to prepare Earth for Empire integration. But along the way, He stopped, started over. I came to care about you, about your mother, about this planet, which complicates things. Thrag's expression showed disappointment. Agent Grayson, your attachment to the assignment has compromised your effectiveness. This is precisely why we limit exposure to developing species. He turned to the assembled Guardians. Your hero is Empire operative. Has been for nearly 2 decades. Everything he's done, saving you, protecting you, and pretending to care, was tactical positioning for eventual conquest. Monster Girl's ancient eyes went wide. The Guardian massacre. Omni-Man, did you... I eliminated obstacles to Empire preparation, Nolan confirmed. His voice carried the hollow tone of someone confessing inevitable truth. The Guardians were powerful enough to resist Viltrumite takeover, so I removed them, efficiently, brutally, exactly as I was trained. Rex's hands began glowing with explosive energy. You son of a bitch! Darkwing was my friend. Red Rush saved my life 3 times, and you murdered them? I executed strategic necessity, Nolan corrected. Personal feelings are irrelevant to tactical requirements. The Empire's timeline demanded their elimination, so I provided it. The Guardians erupted in fury, Rex launching explosive blasts, Kate's duplicates charging, Black Samurai's blades singing through air toward Omni-Man's throat. Monster Girl roared with voices layered across centuries of combat experience. Thrag moved, single gesture, palm extended, power signature spiking. The invisible force wave caught all attacking Guardians mid-charge and slammed them into desert floor hard enough to crater sand. Not kill shot, demonstration. This is how easily I could end you, so understand your place in this hierarchy. Pathetic, Thrag said. Agent Grayson eliminates your strongest heroes and you respond with emotional flailing. This is why your species requires governance. He looked at Nolan. Finish them. Prove your loyalty to Empire over assignment attachment. Nolan stared at Earth's defenders sprawled in craters, at Robot calculating escape vectors, at Monster Girl struggling to rise despite child body's limitations, at the GDA gunships hovering with weapons locked on him, waiting for Cecil's order, at the comm channel where his 17-year-old son was breathing hard, processing the revelation that his hero father was genocidal alien advance agent. No, Nolan said. Thrag's eyebrow raised. Repeat that. I said no. Nolan positioned himself between Thrag and the Guardians. My mission was Earth's integration, not its extermination. Killing them serves no strategic purpose and would turn my son against everything I've tried to... Your son. Thrag's voice dropped to lethal quiet. The half-breed you created with inferior genetic material. You're refusing direct order from your Grand Regent because of attachment to mongrel offspring. He's my son, Nolan said, and meant it with every atom of his Viltrumite physiology. Whatever else is true, that matters. Then you're compromised, unreliable, a traitor to Empire and Viltrumite purity. Thrag's power signature spiked again, this time aimed at Nolan. And traitors receive one response. He attacked his own agent. The punch caught Nolan in the chest, shattered ribs, sent him flying 300 meters to crash through rock formation. Smart atoms began healing immediately, but Thrag followed up, relentless, delivering combination that would kill normal Viltrumites. Nolan fought back. 2,000 years versus 2,000 years, both warriors at peak efficiency, both trained in identical combat doctrine. But Thrag was stronger. Always had been, always would be. That's why he was Grand Regent. The battle restructured desert geography. Mountains became valleys, valleys became glass. And the Guardians watched as Earth's greatest hero got systematically dismantled by his Empire's leader. SAITAMA watched too, with growing focus. "SAITAMA!" Monster Girl called, struggling to her feet. "You have to help him. Thrag will kill Nolan and then I'll kill you," Thrag confirmed, pausing his assault on Omni-Man. "All of you efficiently. Then I'll conquer this planet as originally planned." Agent Grayson's failure simply accelerates the timeline. He looked at SAITAMA. "Unless you join the Empire, your choice determines whether billions live or die in the next hour." It was ultimatum delivered with absolute confidence. Join us or watch planet burn. The strong don't negotiate, they dictate terms. Cecil's voice erupted across channels. All units engage, the lethal force authorized, protect Earth at any cost. The GDA gunships opened fire. Alien tech weapons reverse-engineered from captured Viltrumite technology, powerful enough to threaten even Omni-Man. The energy beams converged on Thrag with the coordinated precision of military professionals who understood exactly how outmatched they were and fought anyway. Thrag flew through the bombardment. Weapons that should have burned through Viltrumite flesh barely singed his skin. Smart atoms adapted mid-flight, neutralizing damage as fast as it occurred. He reached the first gunship and tore it apart with his bare hands. Pilots ejected, but Thrag was faster. Caught them mid-air, looked each in the eyes, and dropped them. They fell 50 feet. Armor absorbed most impact. They'd live barely and remember exactly how powerless they were. "This is Earth's defense," Thrag called across desert. "Machines and courage without capability to back it up. This is the freedom you're so proud of?" He destroyed another gunship, pilots scrambling for ejection. "Your species is children playing with weapons, pretending strength you don't possess." Robot launched every drone simultaneously. Hundreds of them. Coordinated assault programmed with combat algorithms that predicted Viltrumite movement patterns. They swarmed Thrag like mechanical locusts, electrified stingers seeking gaps in defenses. Thrag smiled and released his power. Not punch, not targeted attack, pure concussive force radiating from his body. Shockwave expanded in perfect sphere, vaporizing every drone within 30 meters. Robot's connection to them severed in mass casualty event that left him hovering in distant safety, processing the loss of 70% of his combat capability in single gesture. Impressive desperation, Thrag acknowledged, but ultimately futile. You cannot win, cannot even inconvenience me, so I offer final mercy, kneel, acknowledge Viltrumite supremacy, submit to Empire governance, and I'll spare your lives to serve as examples of proper hierarchy. Monster Girl spat blood. Go to hell. Been there, conquered it. Thrag began walking toward her, deliberate and unstoppable. Killed the ruling entity and restructured its dimensional space for Empire use. So unless your hell contains threats beyond demonic tier, I'm unimpressed by... Saitama appeared between them. Not flew, not ran. Just occupied new position. Instantaneous movement that violated physics even Viltrumites understood. And his expression had changed from polite attention to something harder. Stop, Saitama said. Thrag stopped, not from obedience, from curiosity. You're intervening, choosing Earth over Empire, that's your answer? You're hurting people, Saitama said simply. That's bad, heroes stop bad people, so I'm stopping you. I'm not people. Thrag's voice shook desert. I am Grand Regent, ruler of thousands of worlds, ender of civilizations, the strongest being in this galaxy. And you think calling me bad changes tactical reality? Don't care about tactics. Saitama's fist clenched. You hurt that girl, hurt those pilots, hurt Nolan for caring about his kid. That's enough. Enough for what? Saitama's expression finally showed emotion, not anger, something sadder. Disappointment that someone strong was using strength to hurt instead of protect. Enough for me to get serious, Saitama said. And Thrag, ruler of empires undefeated in 2 millennia, understood with crystalline clarity that he'd made catastrophic error. The being before him had been tolerating their earlier fight, playing along, treating planetary-scale combat as mild sparring. Now the game was over. Wait, Thrag started. Saitama punched him. Serious punch. The impact generated light. Actual photonic emission from kinetic force exceeding thermal thresholds. The shockwave expanded faster than sound, creating vacuum cavity that collapsed with thunderclap heard across 3 states. And Thrag, strongest Viltrumite, unkillable warrior, Grand Regent of Empire, flew backward at velocities approaching light speed. He crossed Nevada desert in microseconds, punched through mountain range without slowing, exited North America entirely, trajectory carrying him over Atlantic Ocean. His Viltrumite physiology struggled to process damage. Ribs weren't broken, they were powder. Internal organs had liquefied. Smart atoms worked frantically, but the damage exceeded their adaptation rate. He hit ocean at Mach 40. Water behaved like concrete at that velocity. The impact crater was visible from orbit. Tsunamis radiated outward, and Thrag sank into Atlantic depths, barely conscious, body rebuilding itself one cellular layer at a time. In Nevada desert, silence fell. The Guardian stared at Saitama, at the destruction corridor carved across continent, at the hero who just punched the strongest being in the galaxy into the ocean so hard that seismographs registered it as earthquake. Nolan pulled himself from rubble, ribs healing, looked at Saitama with new understanding. The dimensional anomaly had been holding back. Against the kaiju, against the dimensional creatures, against Thrag's initial test, All of it had been restrained power. This was what happened when Saitama actually tried. "Holy shit," Rex whispered. Robot's processors struggled to model the force vectors. That's impossible. The energy required to generate that impact would exceed Earth's nuclear arsenal, Cecil finished, watching satellite feed of Atlantic crater. Combined, by several orders of magnitude, his voice carried awe and terror. "Saitama, what the hell are you?" "A hero," Saitama said. He looked at his fist like it might have answers. "Just a hero who's for fun." The Atlantic Ocean boiled. Satellite imagery showed thermal blooms spreading from impact crater. Water superheated by Thrag's entry converting to steam. GDA monitoring stations tracked the disturbance with growing alarm as something began moving beneath the surface. Something that refused to stay down. "He's alive," Cecil said over open comms. "Saitama punched him into the ocean at Mach 40 and he's alive, rising. Current depth 4,000 meters and ascending." Nolan struggled to his feet, Viltrumite regeneration knitting broken bones. "Of course he's alive. Thrag has survived planet-destroying impacts, been thrown into stars and crawled out. That punch would kill any other Viltrumite, but he's..." Pain cut off the explanation. "He's the Grand Regent for a reason." "So what do we do?" Monster Girl asked, reverting to human form, body aging forward again toward her actual age. "He'll come back, angrier, and he'll reassess," Nolan interrupted. "Thrag isn't mindless. He adapts, and he just learned that Saitama can hit harder than anything he's encountered in 2,000 years. He turned to the bald hero. When he returns, he won't hold back, won't test. He'll go for kill immediately." Saitama nodded. "Okay? That's it? Just okay?" Rex's voice carried hysterical edge. "That thing is coming back to murder all of us and you're treating it like grocery shopping?" "Getting upset doesn't help," Saitama said. "He's strong. I hit him hard. Now he'll hit back harder. That's how fighting works." Robots' drones circled the assembled heroes, calculating defensive positions. "We need to evacuate civilian population within 1,000-mile radius. If their next engagement matches the first, collateral damage will be catastrophic." "Already on it," Cecil confirmed. "Issuing emergency alerts across East Coast. Official story is imminent earthquake activity detected. People are moving to shelters." He paused. "Saitama, can you take the fight somewhere else? Somewhere uninhabited?" "Where?" Saitama asked. "Space," Nolan suggested. "Viltrumites fight in vacuum regularly. No collateral damage, no civilian casualties. Just you and Thrag in an environment where you can both cut loose. I've never fought in space before. You learn to fly in 3 days. You'll adapt." Nolan's expression showed complicated mix of concern and calculation. "But understand, if you take him to space, you're committing to finishing it. Thrag won't retreat, won't surrender. He'll fight until one of you stops breathing. He started it," Saitama said simply. "Hurt people, threatened Earth. I'm just finishing what he began." The ocean erupted. Thrag burst from Atlantic depths like vengeful god. Water vaporizing around him from sheer kinetic fury. His suit was destroyed. His skin was burned red from friction and impact trauma. Blood streamed from his nose, his ears, his mouth. And his eyes burned with something between rage and exhilaration. He'd finally found someone who could hurt him. He flew toward Nevada at speeds that made his approach sound like continuous thunder. Crossed Atlantic in 40 seconds, North America in 20 more. Descended on the desert battleground with the focused intensity of warrior who'd spent the ocean journey planning exactly how to kill the unkillable. "Saitama!" His voice shook atmosphere. You dare strike a Grand Regent. You dare humiliate Viltrumite supremacy." He landed with enough force to trigger actual earthquake, not the fake one GDA was using for cover story. Stood in fresh crater, power signature burning like solar flare, smart atoms working overtime to repair damage that should have killed him 10 times over. "I've conquered thousands of worlds," Thrag roared. "Killed beings that made gods kneel, ruled an empire when your species was learning to use fire, and you, dimensional accident in a clearance sale costume, think you can stand against Viltrumite perfection." Saitama faced him with unchanged expression. "You hurt people. I stopped you, that's all." "That's all?" Thrag's laugh was madness and murder. "You've declared war on the strongest empire in the galaxy. Every Viltrumite warrior will hunt you. Every conquered world will seek revenge for this insult. You'll spend the rest of your pathetic existence running from—" "I don't run from fights," Saitama interrupted. "I finish them." The simplicity of the statement cut through Thrag's rage. The dimensional anomaly wasn't posturing, wasn't threatening, wasn't even particularly emotional about the confrontation. He was just stating fact. This ends when one of us stops. Thrag's smile returned cold and vicious. "Then let's end it. In environment worthy of real combat, where I can kill you without restraint." He grabbed Saitama and flew straight up. Through troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, air pressure dropped to nothing, temperature plummeted to -270 Celsius. And still Thrag accelerated, dragging Saitama toward hard vacuum where only Viltrumites could survive. Except Saitama was breathing normally. No suit, no protection, just bald head and yellow costume exposed to conditions that would freeze dry humans in seconds. And he looked mildly inconvenienced at most. "Impossible!" Thrag screamed into void. "You can't survive vacuum, you're biological, you need atmosphere." "Guess not," Saitama said. His voice carried perfectly despite no medium for sound transmission. Physics had given up arguing. They broke orbit. Earth became blue marble below them. Stars surrounded them in eternal cold. And Thrag released Saitama to float in geosynchronous orbit above the planet they were fighting over. "Here," Thrag said, voice carrying through Viltrumite physiology's ability to project sound even in vacuum. "No civilians, no witnesses, no limits." His power signature blazed brighter. "Just you and me and the question of whether your strength can match Viltrumite superiority." "Okay," Saitama said. Thrag attacked, not the measured strikes from earlier, not the testing jabs or calculated combinations. This was 2,000 years of combat experience unleashed without restraint. Punches that could shatter moons. Speed that made light look slow. Combat doctrine refined through millennia of killing beings that thought themselves unkillable. He hit Saitama 17 times in 1 second. Each impact would have destroyed buildings. Together they should have pulped organs and broken bones. Saitama's head rocked slightly with each hit. Then he punched back. Normal punch, maybe 70% power. It caught Thrag in the sternum and sent him tumbling through space. Bones cracking, organs hemorrhaging, smart atoms struggling to process damage faster than it accumulated. Thrag stopped himself near Earth's moon, looked at the crater his body had carved through space station debris during uncontrolled flight, looked at his own chest where ribs had splintered inward, and laughed. "Magnificent!" His wounds healed as he spoke, Viltrumite regeneration working overtime. "You're the real thing, not just powerful, beyond power, operating on principles physics hasn't discovered yet." He accelerated back toward Saitama. "Fighting you is like fighting reality itself." They collided above Earth's North Pole. The impact generated electromagnetic pulse visible from ground as aurora enhancement. Thrag's combat technique was perfection, exploiting angles, targeting weak points, using leverage and momentum. Every strike aimed at nerve clusters, organ systems, structural vulnerabilities. It didn't matter. Saitama's body didn't have weak points. No vulnerable organs to rupture, no nerve clusters to disrupt. No structural limitations to exploit. He was just durable. Absolutely, fundamentally, impossibly durable. How? Thrag demanded between strikes. What are you? What made you? No biological being should be this resistant. Training, Saitama said, blocking a kick that would have shattered planets. Push-ups, sit-ups, running. 3 years. That's not possible. Worked for me. The battle migrated across orbital space. They punched each other through satellites. Commercial, military, scientific, destroying billions in infrastructure. Crashed into the International Space Station, rendering it instant scrap metal. The debris field spread across low Earth orbit like metallic snow. Below, every space agency on Earth watched in horror as two beings demolished humanity's orbital presence through incidental contact. We need to stop them, Cecil said from Pentagon Command. They're destroying critical infrastructure. With what? Nolan replied, watching from Nevada. They're in space, fighting at velocities our fastest missiles can't match. And even if we could reach them, what would we do? Ask nicely? Robots' processors calculated trajectories. If they maintain current vector, debris will impact Earth's surface within 6 hours. Orbital cascade could render space travel impossible for decades. Kessler syndrome, Cecil muttered. Perfect. Add trapped on Earth forever to today's apocalypse bingo card. In orbit, Thrag was beginning to understand the magnitude of his mistake. Saitama wasn't just strong, he was beyond strong, operating on power scale that rendered Viltrumite supremacy obsolete. Every punch Thrag landed did nothing. Every technique, every exploit, every strategic advantage, all useless against being who'd broken the fundamental laws governing strength. But Thrag was Grand Regent, had ruled through 2,000 years of challenges, and he hadn't survived by quitting when outmatched. New strategy, he roared, stopping the close combat assault. You're invulnerable, immortal, unkillable, fine. His smile turned vicious. But Earth isn't. He dove toward the planet. Saitama understood instantly and followed. No! Yes! Thrag's trajectory aimed for populated area. Looked like eastern seaboard, millions of humans clustered in cities. You can't kill me fast enough to stop impact. I'll crater the continent. Millions dead, and you'll have to live with failure. It was perfect Viltrumite tactic. When direct confrontation fails, target what opponent cares about. Force impossible choice. Die protecting others or live knowing you failed them. Except Saitama was faster. He caught Thrag 50 kilometers above Baltimore, grabbed the Viltrumite's leg mid-descent and pulled. The reversal generated sonic boom heard across 3 states. Thrag's trajectory changed from impact with civilian population to escape velocity achieved involuntarily. They tumbled back into space, roles reversed. Now Saitama was directing movement, pulling Thrag away from Earth, positioning the fight where collateral damage wouldn't kill billions. Coward, Thrag screamed, protecting weakness. This is why your species fails. You value inferior life over victory. They're not inferior, Saitama said. They're just not strong. That's different. He punched Thrag toward the moon. Serious punch. The impact was visible from Earth. Flash of light near lunar surface. New crater appearing in real time across Mare Tranquillitatis. Thrag's body carved canyon 300 kilometers long, displacing lunar regolith, destroying geology that had been stable for billions of years. The Grand Regent pulled himself from the crater. His body was devastation, bones pulverized, organs jellied, entire left arm hanging by tendons. Smart atoms worked frantically, but damage exceeded even Viltrumite regeneration capabilities. He was dying, and he was still smiling. "Worth it," he laughed, blood bubbling from punctured lungs. 2,000 years I've been strongest, 2,000 years bored, unchallenged, and now, finally now, I feel it again. Saitama landed on the lunar surface nearby. Feel what? Mortality. Thrag's working arm spread wide, embracing the moon's desolation. The possibility of death, real consequence, stakes that matter. His eyes focused on Saitama with clarity beyond madness. You've given me gift I forgot existed. The chance to die fighting instead of ruling, he charged. One-armed, dying, broken beyond any reasonable survival threshold. Charged anyway because Viltrumites didn't surrender and Grand Regents especially didn't know how. Saitama met him halfway. Consecutive serious punches, left, right, each impact faster than the last, each one delivering force that made the previous serious punch look gentle. Thrag's body stopped regenerating. Couldn't regenerate, damage exceeded Smart Adam's capacity to process. His consciousness fragmented, his Viltrumite superiority crumbled, and through it all, he laughed. The final punch sent him into lunar orbit. He floated there, body destroyed, life fading, looking at Earth below with eyes that had seen thousands of worlds and ruled them all. "Tell Agent Grayson," Thrag's voice was whisper now, transmitted through dying power signature. "Tell him, he chose correctly. The hybrid is worth more than Empire purity." His eyes found Saitama one last time. "And you're proof that strength has no ceiling. Only we are too weak to reach it." Grand Regent Thrag, ruler of 4,000 worlds, strongest Viltrumite who ever lived, died smiling. His body drifted in lunar orbit, monuments to Empire superiority rendered corpse by balding hero in discount costume. Saitama floated in silence, looking at the dead warrior. Felt nothing, no triumph, no satisfaction. Just the familiar emptiness of another fight finished, another opponent who couldn't last. "I wanted him to be stronger," Saitama said to vacuum. "Wanted to feel something. But even he trailed off, looked at Earth below, blue and fragile and home to billions who'd just been saved by someone who couldn't enjoy saving them. Down on Earth's surface, every monitoring station detected the change. The second power signature had ceased. The battle was over. "Who won?" Cecil asked, though he already knew. "Saitama's signature is stable," Robot reported. "Thrag's is gone, either dead or fled beyond detection range." In Nevada, Nolan closed his eyes. His Grand Regent was dead. His Empire leader killed by dimensional anomaly he'd recruited. Mission had failed catastrophically, and somehow, impossibly, he felt relief. Mark's voice crackled over comm. "Dad, is it over?" "It's over," Nolan confirmed. "Thrag is dead. Earth is safe, and He stopped, started over. "I have a lot to answer for." In lunar orbit, Saitama grabbed Thrag's body, began flying back to Earth with the corpse of strongest being in the galaxy, carrying proof that even Viltrumite supremacy could be ended by sufficient force, and felt nothing but the familiar crushing weight of being too strong for his own good. The fight was over, but the consequences were just beginning. Saitama descended through Earth's atmosphere carrying Thrag's corpse, re-entry heat washing over both of them without effect. The body of the Grand Regent, ruler of empires, conqueror of thousands of worlds, had already begun to cool in the void. Viltrumite physiology's final dignity denied by vacuum's indifference. He landed in Nevada desert where the battle had begun, where Earth's defenders still stood amid the wreckage of their illusions. Laid Thrag's body on scorched sand with the careful respect reserved for worthy opponents, even ones who'd threatened genocide. The Guardians stared at the corpse, at Saitama, at the casual finality of it all. You killed him, Monster Girl whispered. You actually killed the strongest Viltrumite. He wouldn't stop, Saitama said. Tried to hit civilians. Had to finish it. Robot's drone scanned the body, confirming what sensors had detected from orbit. Cause of death appears to be everything. Catastrophic multi-system failure. Skeletal structure pulverized. Organs liquefied. Cellular integrity compromised at fundamental level. His synthesized voice carried something approaching awe. Saitama, you didn't just kill him, you unmade him. He was tough, Saitama acknowledged. Took several serious punches. Several, Rex repeated numbly. Several serious punches to kill someone who ruled 4,000 worlds. What the hell constitutes a casual punch for you? Saitama thought about it. The kaiju? Those were casual. Jesus Christ, Cecil muttered through comms. We've been watching you hold back this entire time. The testing equipment, the dimensional breaches, the Chicago creatures. That was all, what, 10%? Maybe 20 for the creatures, Saitama said. They were bigger. Nolan knelt beside Thrag's body, Viltrumite ritual positioning for fallen superior. His expression showed complicated grief. For the Grand Regent he'd served, for the Empire ideology that had just been demolished, for the certainty that had governed 2,000 years of his existence. He died doing what Viltrumites value most, Nolan said quietly. Fighting, testing his limits, facing opponents strong enough to end him. He looked up at Saitama. In our culture, that's the honorable death, better than fading away, ruling from throne. He seemed happy at the end, Saitama offered. Said something about feeling mortality again. He would have. Nolan stood, turned to face Earth's defenders. Specifically Cecil's drone cameras, knowing this conversation would be recorded, analyzed, used against him. I suppose we should discuss what happens now. My cover is destroyed. Earth knows I'm Viltrumite operative, knows I murdered the Guardians, knows I've spent 17 years preparing this planet for conquest. 17 years, Black Samurai said, voice hard as his blade. 17 years lying to us, to the world, playing hero while planning our enslavement. Yes? The admission hung in desert air. No justification, no excuse, just acknowledgement of 17 years of systematic deception. Cecil's voice cut through the tension. Omni-Man, or should I say Agent Grayson, you're under arrest for crimes against humanity, murder, conspiracy to commit genocide, treason against Earth's sovereignty. We have kill switch implants prepared for situations exactly like this, and I am extremely tempted to activate them. You can try, Nolan said without aggression. But the kill switches are designed for meta-humans, not Viltrumites. My physiology will reject them within hours, and restraining me requires force I'm not sure you possess. We have Saitama, Robot pointed out. Everyone looked at the bald hero, who looked back with his characteristic expression of polite disengagement. Do we? Nolan asked. Does Saitama care about Earth's justice system? About punishment for crimes against species he's not part of? He's been here a week, fought some monsters, killed a Viltrumite Grand Regent, but that doesn't mean he's invested in geopolitics or moral judgment. All eyes turned to Saitama. Saitama said. I just stopped him from hurting people. Don't really care about the politics part. See? Nolan gestured. He's a weapon without allegiance, powerful beyond measurement but emotionally disengaged. You can't rely on him to enforce your justice. He barely cares about his own. That's not, Monster Girl started, then stopped. Because it was true. Saitama had saved them, saved Earth, killed the Grand Regent. But his expression showed zero emotional investment in the outcome. He'd done what heroes do and was already returning to his default state. Bored. Mark's voice crackled through comms, young and broken. Dad, I'm at home with Mom. She's not taking this well. Finding out her husband is alien spy, that our whole family was cover story. Pause. Was it all fake? Did you ever actually care about us? The question cut deeper than Thrag's punches. Nolan's Viltrumite discipline wavered, 2,000 years of emotional control fracturing against 17 years of genuine attachment. Mark, Nolan said, and his voice carried weight that made the Guardians shift uncomfortably. What I'm about to say will sound like manipulation, like tactical response designed to preserve operational assets. But I need you to understand its truth. He paused. I love you. I love your mother. Those feelings weren't part of the mission, they were mission failure. Viltrumites don't do love. We breed strategically and move on. But you and Debbie became real to me in ways the Empire never anticipated. Then why? Mark's voice cracked. Why kill the Guardians? Why plan Earth's conquest? If you loved us, how could you? Because I'm Viltrumite first, Nolan interrupted. Because 2,000 years of ideology doesn't vanish because I fell in love with my assignment. Because the Empire's vision, strength maintaining order across galaxies, still makes sense to me even when it conflicts with what I feel. That's insane, Rex said. You're saying you love them but you'd still conquer Earth? I'm saying emotions complicate strategic clarity, don't override it. Nolan turned back to Thrag's corpse. The Grand Regent represented pure Viltrumite philosophy, uncomplicated by attachment. And SAITAMA killed him easily. That should tell you something about the Empire's future. What? Cecil demanded. That we're obsolete. Nolan's voice carried the hollowness of paradigm collapse. Viltrumite supremacy is built on being strongest, on force as final authority. But SAITAMA proves that strength has no ceiling, that biological limits can be transcended through means we don't understand. The Empire's entire philosophy, the strongest deserve to rule, breaks down when you meet someone infinitely stronger who doesn't want to rule. He gestured to SAITAMA. Look at him. Power that makes Viltrumites look weak. Could conquer the galaxy in a week if he wanted, but he doesn't want. Doesn't care. Just wants to fight monsters and feel something during the combat. Our entire civilization is built on a foundation he disproves by existing. SAITAMA shifted uncomfortably. I'm not trying to disprove anything, just existing. I know, that's what makes it devastating. Nolan looked at the assembled heroes. So here's what happens now. You arrest me or try to. I go along with it because fighting you means fighting near my family and I won't risk them. Cecil puts me in whatever prison he thinks can hold a Viltrumite. And eventually the Empire comes looking for answers about why their Grand Regent disappeared and their agent stopped reporting. How long? Cecil asked. Months, maybe a year. The Empire moves slowly when it moves across galaxies, but they'll come. And when they do, you'll face dozens of Viltrumites, not just one. All of them angry about Thrag's death. All of them viewing Earth as insult requiring correction. Then we'll fight them, Monster Girl said with ancient certainty. With what? Nolan asked. SAITAMA? You think he'll still be here in a year? Still care about Earth enough to fight a war for you? He looked at the dimensional anomaly. Will you? SAITAMA was quiet, thinking about it with the slow consideration he gave complex questions. I want to go home, he finally said. Miss my apartment, my grocery store. Genos probably thinks I'm dead. Who's Genos? Mark asked. My disciple, Cyborg, follows me around. SAITAMA's voice carried the faint warmth of actual human connection. He's annoying but means well. You have people waiting. Nolan said gently. A life in your universe. Staying here to defend Earth from Viltrumite retaliation, that's not your responsibility. But you saved us, Mark protested. You killed Thrag. Doesn't that mean you care at least a little? Saitama looked at the teenager, half Viltrumite, half human, struggling to reconcile father's betrayal with Hero's salvation. I stopped him from hurting people, that's what heroes do, but I'm not your hero. I'm just passing through. The words landed with gentle finality. He'd save them if he was present, but he wouldn't stay. Wouldn't dedicate himself to Earth's defense. Wouldn't become the weapon they needed against Empire retaliation. So we're on our own, Cecil said. Against Viltrumite Empire that just lost its leader, perfect. Not entirely alone, Robot interjected. We have intelligence now. Know their capabilities, their ideology, their tactical doctrine. And we have Agent Grayson. He paused. Sorry, Nolan. Who could provide strategic insights if properly motivated? Properly motivated meaning what? Nolan asked. Threats against my family? That didn't work for Thrag. Meaning we offer you choice, Cecil said, the prison and isolation, or cooperation with Earth's defense in exchange for limited freedom and protection for Debbie and Mark. Help us prepare for the Empire's arrival, and we'll consider your attachment to them as mitigating factor. It was pragmatic, Cecil-style bargaining that prioritized survival over justice, used the traitor's knowledge to defend against his former allies. Nolan considered it. What about Mark? When the Empire comes, they'll target him. Half-breed proof that I've been compromised. They'll try to kill him to eliminate genetic impurity. Then you help us make sure they fail, Cecil countered. Train him. Make him strong enough to survive Viltrumite assault. That's motivation enough. Dad? Mark's voice over comm was small. Would you do that? Help us even though it means fighting your own people? Nolan closed his eyes. 2,000 years of Viltrumite loyalty versus 17 years of fatherhood. Empire ideology versus genuine love for hybrid son. The choice that had been coming since he'd first held Mark as a baby and felt something no Viltrumite should feel. Yes, he said, I'll help. Not for Earth, for you and your mother. The Guardians exchanged glances. Didn't trust him, couldn't trust him after revelations and murder confessions. But Cecil was right about pragmatism. Earth needed every advantage against Empire retaliation. Then we have work to do, Cecil said. Robot, take Nolan into custody. Secure facility, monitoring the works. Monster Girl, Black Samurai, coordinate with global defense networks. Rex, Kate, Ray, damage assessment and civilian management. We're telling the world that alien contact occurred, hostile force was neutralized, and Earth's heroes saved the day. What about the truth? Mark asked. About Dad killing the Guardians? Stays classified, Cecil said firmly. Public can't handle Earth's greatest hero as genocidal alien. We'll say he was compromised, is being treated, will return to duty after rehabilitation. It's a lie, but it's the lie that keeps civilization stable. More deception, more secrets. The cost of protecting people who couldn't handle truth's weight. Saitama watched the political machinery spin up around him. Watched Earth's defenders transform tragedy into strategy. Betrayal into tactical advantage. It was efficient, professional. Everything his hero association had never managed, and he felt nothing. Can someone help me get home? He asked. The dimensional thing, can you fix it? Cecil's attention shifted. We're working on it. Robots analyzing the breach mechanics. But it could take time. Dimensional physics isn't our specialty. How much time? Weeks, maybe months. Saitama's expression didn't change, but something in his posture sagged microscopically. More time in universe that didn't challenge him. More waiting. More boredom. I'll keep fighting monsters while I'm here, he offered. If they show up, the dimensional one's tracking me. We'd appreciate that, Cecil said. And Saitama, thank you for stopping Thrag, for choosing Earth over his offer. Didn't really choose, Saitama said. He was hurting people. That made it simple. Simple. The word carried weight the pragmatist couldn't fully process. For Saitama, moral complexity dissolved into basic truth. Protect people from harm. Everything else, politics, ideology, empire, philosophy, was noise. The GDA transport arrived, armored vehicle designed to contain metahuman threats, laughably inadequate for holding Viltrumite but symbolically necessary. Nolan entered voluntarily, hands unbound because restraints were theater. He looked back at Thrag's body one final time. He was strongest being I ever met, Nolan said. Until today. The Empire will want to know how he died, what killed him. Tell them the truth, Saitama suggested. He fought someone stronger. Lost happens. Viltrumites don't accept happens. We'll need to prepare for... The corpse moved. Not much. Just finger twitch, muscular spasm, autonomic response from dying nervous system. But every hero in the desert tensed, hands moving to weapons or powers, PTSD from earlier battle making them hypersensitive to threat. Saitama walked over. Looked down at Thrag's definitely dead body. He's gone, he confirmed. Just nerves firing. Saw it before with monsters. You're sure? Monster Girl asked, transformed again just in case, aging backward with each second of maintained form. Yeah, punched him too hard for anything to be left. Saitama paused. Should probably bury him or something, seems respectful. They burned Thrag's body in the desert, Viltrumite funeral rites performed by the agent who'd betrayed the Empire but still honored its dead. Fire consumed the Grand Regent's remains, strongest being in the galaxy reduced to ash and memory. Mark arrived during the cremation, having flown from Baltimore against Cecil's orders. Stood beside his father and watched Empire supremacy become smoke. What happens to us now? Mark asked quietly. You train, Nolan said. Become strong enough to survive what's coming. Your Viltrumite heritage gives you potential. You just need to develop it before the Empire arrives. And you? I prepare Earth's defenses, share tactical intelligence, try to earn some fraction of redemption for the Guardians I murdered. Nolan looked at his son. And I make sure that when Viltrumites come for you, they fail. They stood in silence, father and son watching the last evidence of Empire's Grand Regent dissipate into Nevada sky. Saitama stood apart looking at Earth's horizon where sun was setting. Thinking about home, about Janos and King and Moomin Rider, about his apartment and grocery store sales, about a universe where he was bored, but at least it was familiar boredom. I want to go home, he said to no one in particular. No one answered. Because the people who could help were busy managing crisis, and the person who might understand was dead ash scattered by desert wind. The fight was over. The Grand Regent defeated, Earth saved from Empire conquest, for now. But Saitama stood in the cooling desert, victorious and empty, the strongest being in two universes and incapable of feeling anything about it. The sun set, stars emerged, and somewhere in the galaxy, Viltrumite sensors detected the signal loss. The Grand Regent's beacon gone silent, and began calculating the response to unprecedented defeat. Earth had months. Saitama had trapped himself in another universe. And Nolan Grayson had to live with every consequence of 2,000 years of choices finally coming due. The battle was won. But the war, the real war, the one fought in consequences and preparations and the slow machinery of Empire retaliation, was just beginning. 3 weeks passed. Saitama helped Robot analyze dimensional mechanics, his presence somehow stabilizing the breach points enough to study them. GDA scientists theorized that his power signature, whatever impossible physics governed his strength, could be reversed to send him home. They just needed time, funding, and miracles in theoretical physics that humanity hadn't discovered yet. Mark trained obsessively, Viltrumite heritage pushing his body beyond human limits while Nolan coached from secure facility through monitored communications. The teenager grew stronger daily, flight more controlled, punches more devastating. But he was still 17, still half-human, still centuries away from the power he'd need to face full Viltrumite assault. Earth prepared. Cecil consolidated global defense networks, shared Viltrumite intelligence with world governments, and quietly began manufacturing weapons that might threaten Empire warriors. The coalition of planets made contact, offering alliance against common enemy. Alan the alien arrived, cheerful and optimistic, evaluating Earth's readiness for the war everyone knew was coming. And Saitama grew more bored. The dimensional creatures had stopped coming. Either his presence had stabilized or something about killing Thrag had closed the attraction loop. Either way, no more monsters, no more fights. Just waiting in universe that couldn't challenge him while scientists worked on sending him home. On the 24th day, he sat on the Grayson's roof watching Baltimore traffic crawl through evening rush hour. Mark joined him, landing with significantly more grace than 3 weeks ago. Robot says they're making progress, Mark offered. The dimensional gateway thing says maybe 2 more months. Okay, Saitama said. You really hate it here, huh? It's fine. Just want to go home. Mark was quiet, processing. Then, can I ask you something about fighting? Okay. Does it ever get better? The boredom? Mark's voice carried desperate hope. You're so strong that nothing challenges you. Does that feeling ever go away? Saitama thought about it, about 3 years of searching for worthy opponents, about Boros and Garou and every monster that had disappointed, about Thrag, who'd lasted longer than most but still fallen to serious punches. No, he admitted. It doesn't get better, you just get used to it. That's depressing. Yeah? They sat in silence, watching sun set over city that didn't know how close it had come to empire conquest. Below them, humans lived ordinary lives with ordinary problems, blissfully unaware that 2 beings capable of destroying their world were discussing existential boredom on a suburban roof. For what it's worth, Mark said eventually. Thank you. For saving us, for stopping Thrag, for giving us time to prepare. You're welcome, Saitama said, and meant it despite the emptiness. Because that's what heroes did. They saved people, even when it didn't make them feel anything, even when victory tasted like ashes, even when being strongest meant being loneliest. The portal home would open eventually. Robot and Cecil and Earth's brightest minds would find the frequency, stabilize the dimensional bridge, send Saitama back to his universe where Genos waited and grocery sales continued and boredom was at least familiar. But until then, he'd wait. He'd help if monsters came. He'd protect people because that's what heroes did, and he'd feel nothing while doing it. Because being strong enough to save everyone meant being too strong to enjoy saving anyone. The sun set. Mark went inside for dinner, and Saitama sat alone on the roof, the strongest being in 2 universes, waiting for a way home and wondering if it would feel any different when he got there. Probably not. But at least his apartment had better water pressure.